to me, Republicans, listen! You are the people in history they warned us about! They warned us about people like you! Pay attention! We're losing our democracy! Wake up! Wake up!
Turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me, we can only reelect Donald Trump.
Biden is evil. Trump must win. He's real. He will bring back the people's trust. These leftists are not for the American people. It's the biggest cover-up ever. Biden is an extension of the policies of Obama that weakened America, and we cannot let that happen again. The left are deceitful and have lied to the American people. They have stripped down her mighty powers for their own ego of power to rule the nation's economy. Let us ask God to rid this horror, and let us hold a candle on this land of the free and bring her back to the place she once stood proud. She is God's liberty. She is God's love. She is freedom, dignity. And God will cast his healing breath across this land. He will vanquish deceit. And I assure you that Jesus, Moses, will stand their ground and ask all to vote for truths. Our land of the free will break her chains, and this will be. My children of God, your only hope is to see this greatness. And you must vote for this man in office, the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, for he is a man of integrity fighting for you and this country's welfare. He loves this country as you do. Don't allow deceit to manipulate you, for only truths will prevail. Don't die knowing you all allowed a lie. This lie has to be wiped out. Donald Trump has been great for the American people these last 4 years, and he wants to continue to fight for her glory and freedom. The left will bring you down with their lies and destroy America. Let us all pray, and may God give us strength that we may shine in the name of Jesus and Moses and saints of all religions. May we hold God's torch of truths and pray for world peace, for the U.S. to bring her nation's flag to wave with pride with President Donald Trump, 2020.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. My name is Brett Keene from God TV Radio, aka the Boogeyman. And today we're going to talk about destroying evolution and giving justification for intelligent design. Everyone is welcome. The link is in the description. Link is in the comments. And here we are. We've got Mr. Dorganfly. How are you today?
I'm not too bad. How's it going?
Doing pretty good. Mr. Lizard, also known as Wiley Werebrun. What's up?
Not much.
Good deal. Very short and sweet. And I've got my Jewish friend John here. How you been today, John?
I'm doing all right. How's everything with you, big boy?
I'm doing pretty good. Where's that damn Will Kincaid?
He's sleeping, snoozing.
All right, so let's start with it. What is your view, Mr. Dorganfly, on abiogenesis and then soon after evolution?
Well, abiogenesis. I've seen like Urey and Miller. I've looked at some studies on how they basically tried to do this test in a lab. And the thing is they're doing it with an oxygen-free environment, because oxygen would actually destroy the organic molecules required for the origin of life. So, in spite of much evidence that the Earth has always had a significant quantity of free oxygen in the atmosphere, like an evolutionist would persist in declaring that there was no oxygen in the Earth's early atmosphere, because it would be detrimental to their theory. So as far as abiogenesis, I see a lot of things stacked against them, especially when we can see records of this, drawn from amber samples, that our atmosphere was very different, and it has not remained a constant. And that would even stack up against carbon dating and carbon-14, how it's created in the atmosphere. Yeah. So I guess that's where I stand on abiogenesis. I think it's a big reach at the moment. Like raw energy also is incredibly destructive, whether you're talking about radiation from the sun or lightning or heat. Very destructive to small life forms. So that would be another one stacked against them. I guess there's also a strange scenario for a clutter of life when it comes to DNA and RNA and proteins. If the Earth is the way that they theorize it was, you would have a cluster, or sorry, not a cluster, but a clutter of different types of DNA. If they're right-handed and left-handed, you've got even more problems stacked against you, because if one left-handed enters a DNA or an RNA that's all right-handed, it would actually crumble the whole thing. All biological activity is destroyed. So there would be no mechanism available on a primitive Earth to select the correct form. And this fact alone, it completely destroys evolution.
Hey, what's
They've been
up,
wrestling
boys?
with this one a long time, but yeah. What's up?
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, Mr. Evolutionist or Haters of God, I hope you're having a
It's
good
Frenchie.
day. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have you in there, Frankie.
No, Frenchie.
It's Frenchie, the Quebecois.
Oh,
the
Frenchie,
Quebecois.
Frankie. Okay, cool. Frenchie, we're talking about the destruction of evolution right now, and from time to time, we're going to throw out some justifications for an intelligent designer. Mr. Dorganfly, as well as everybody in the room, I've got a question for you. If Ian, Mr. Fly, and my Jewish friend John were to go into a lab, genetically splice shit together, control the environment, control where our specimen or experiment is going to be, and manage to get some kind of movement, couldn't that be argued that a literal guidance process is happening, as well as an intelligent mind or three, in order to create that living substance that we're working on in the lab? It requires a mind to do those things, does it not?
Absolutely. And I would completely agree. You would need some type of intervention to kind of create the scenario and the environment and all, roll all those dice, if you will. It would have to be, you'd have to intervene on it. It would never happen naturally.
Yeah, and let's assume a lot of people says, well, if they create life from non-life and lab, it will prove evolution. But like you said, all it will prove is you must have an intelligent designer behind all of that in order to create a life. It's just amazing.
One thing I didn't hear bring up was the fact that they had to use.
Turn up your mic,
distilled.
Mr. Lizard, so we can hear you good. Turn up your mic a little bit.
What I was trying to say is that one thing that I don't think I heard brought up was the fact that they had to use distilled water. I think it was in the experiments, especially due to the fact that water itself is a universal acid. I think it is. No, not acid. I forgot what word it was.
Well, and even without the right water, you're still dealing with an oxygen-free environment. And the reason they go with an oxygen-free environment when they're trying to make this primordial ooze come alive is because oxygen will oxidize things. and it will kill everything. It's really not good for the beginning stages of life.
Just a little question: are we all theists here? Do we all believe in a God?
Yeah, I believe in the God of the Bible. I don't know about everybody else.
What about you, Mister Lizard?
Yeah, Christian.
Amen.
If anyone comes in here and would like to oppose our views or what we're putting forth, or you feel like there's problems with evolution, want to talk about it, feel free to come in. All is welcome. Just don't try to distract or cut or diverge the conversation. We will, after a little while, have an open discussion where we can just talk about literally everything. But right now, these are the two focuses. All right, guys, watch your screen and tell me if you agree with what a scientist atheist by the name of Richard Dawkins is about to say. Here we go.
Our genes are a kind of archive of the remote past, and they go through us to the remote future. Henry Dawkins may be my 4-greats-grandfather, and he's put some genes in here. But my 200 million greats-grandfather was a fish. And by the way, the same fish was your 200 million greats-grandfather too.
He should do stand-up. He's funny.
All right, so Mr. Richard Dawkins says, I think he was talking about common genes, since we have some gene that there isn't a fish, must prove a common ancestor. Well, that's something pretty funny, because I think it just proves a common designer. It's like when you build a computer, you will use some code that you use in the past model. So it just prove a common designer, but since there's so much in their evolution, it must prove common ancestor. No, it's not. I think we're like 90% same as a mouse in genetic, but we don't come from a mouse. This is stupid. This is not science.
I know we're 70.
70? I thought I seen like 90 or something like that somewhere.
Now, Mr. Dorganfly, has it ever been naturally demonstrated that life has come into existence without any kind of guidance or apparent to it?
If you're talking about like from soup to life, abiogenesis has never occurred in or outside of the lab. If it's happened outside of the lab, it's never been observed. So I don't see any rational reason to put my money behind that.
We've got a couple users out in comments asking if this is actually live or a premiere. It is live, and you are welcome to come in and be a part of the conversation. All right, so have we ever seen, would you all agree that we have an overabundance of evidence that life has always come from either a parent or has been duplicated in some kind of way through some form of reproduction? Have we ever seen life come from nothing?
Nope. Never.
Yeah, we've never seen that, and even if you were go to like a micromolecular level, we don't have DNA, or we don't have any molecule that creates itself. There's no such thing as a self-replicating molecule, and no such molecule could ever exist.
Mr. Dorgo, let's assume that a biogenesis actually occurred, right? Let's assume that life created from non-life. Could it even survive?
Well, you run into a lot of issues, because let's say you have one little thing crawl out of this primordial ooze. The chances of another thing crawling out of the primordial ooze that it can reproduce with are it's unfathomably small chances. The Earth is pretty big, so to assume that they could find each other within their lifespan, eat food, have the drive to eat food, understand what is good food, understand what sex organs are and how to reproduce, like these it's an incredible amount of dice you're rolling, and it's actually at the level that it's become illogical.
Well, and yeah, go ahead.
Well, hold on, Mr. Frenchie. Let me, since we're on the subject of them coming into existence and all that, the Dorganfly, wouldn't, as the organisms become more complicated, even if we were to give them their female, along with the male. Even if we were to go that far, how would they manage to be able to stay compatible with each other over time? Let's say a couple million years, such as the reproduction organs, the penis and vagina. How are they staying in sync when they're not even the same creature?
Well, and I honestly, especially from an evolutionist point of view, it could literally be very dependent on environment. So with adaptation, I don't disagree with microevolution, which is a loose term for adaptation. We see it, but there are limits. So if you have a jackrabbit in Canada and you have a jackrabbit in Florida, they can be not interbreedable. You would have to reach an in-between link to get them, or to get some mix of genetics from those two rabbits. So there are limits that we observe. In fact, scientists will create animals that cannot reproduce. They'll make, for instance, a cow that can withstand the heat but also produce meat. But after they've done so, that cow can't reproduce to create another cow. They have to do it artificially, or again with intervention, human intervention, intelligent intervention.
I mean, I was talking to one of my friend.
Mr. Frenchie, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Real quick. When Mr. Dorganfly or anyone is putting forth an opinion or point, can you wait before you open the mic and begin giggling? I know it's extremely hilarious how he just destroys the shit out of evolution, but get him a moment to finish out, all right? Go on, Frenchie. Let's hear what you got.
I thought he was finished. I'm sorry about that. Well, I mean, one of my friend even told me that, after if it happened, there's so much complexity that must happen in order to turn into another type of organism, beneficial mutation. Couldn't that take more than we need more than more than a billion of years in order to do that? You know where I go with that?
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. And Mr. John right now, my Jewish friend, is showing off his National Geographic. He calls it a comic book because of all the cute cartoons.
Look at this.
Jelly beans? What are we looking at here?
That's what they think now. The dinosaur. That's what they think dinosaurs' egg looks like now. Like it's Easter painting eggs. Like it's bunny rabbits and eggs now. That's what they think.
I will say that is actually accurate because they did find some eggs with coloring in it, such as blue.
Whatever you say, and then here's the artist's rendition of the chicken that they think the dinosaur looks like now. So that little chicken you had for dinner, that was the dinosaur you were eating.
Now, what the hell is the thing over here on the right? So many of you probably heard. Apparently, T-Rexes are giant chickens now, right? Dubs, is that our story?
The giant T-Rex is a chicken now. That's the reimagining. That's what the issue says. We're reimagining dinosaurs from rainbow-colored feathers to river monsters. That's what they referred to them as, river monsters. That's the new reboot of the dinosaurs, because the first one they didn't like. It's like a movie. They didn't like the new movie. They reboot. We don't like the Star Wars. We're rebooting it. So that's what they did. They reboot the dinosaurs. Now it's a comic book. Go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I wanted you to actually share that. We talked a little bit about that magazine earlier. It got me really excited. I'm thinking all my dinosaurs in Jurassic Park is now a chicken farm. It's awesome. I'd hate to see what the damn fox look like, right?
Well, and I'm not sure. Is that an Archaeopteryx? What exactly does it give a name? Because I've seen evolutionists try to use Archaeopteryx many times with just simple like paleobabble, if you will. It's a perching bird, but they claim that this is a transition.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really keep up with mythology, to personally honest with you.
Now, Mr. Dorganfly, we're going to be all over the place on evolution, but I've got another clip for you guys, and I want to see what your view is. All right?
Sure.
Okay. So, as many of you know, the universe had to perform in a certain way in order for evolution to work on Earth. Do you all agree with that?
If it happened, it would definitely have to happen a very, very specific way.
Mm-hmm.
So, very shortly, we're going to hear Stephen Hawking's and then a comment from Lawrence Cross. This will all be less than 30 seconds. Here we go.
Although the universe doesn't have an end, it had a beginning in the Big Bang.
You are telling us that matter arose spontaneously out of nothing.
The laws of nature can create something from nothing.
Literally nothing.
Nothing.
Literally nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Literally nothing.
Nothing.
Literally nothing.
Nothing.
I don't believe that.
I mean, completely nothing.
These beliefs are barking mad.
I think these two dum-dums literally have nothing between their fucking the two eardrums. Just
Yeah.
roasting.
Well, I mean, he said absolutely nothing, but he says because there is law, nothing can create something. But you're assuming that there is law when there is nothing. I mean, this is a stupid claim from him.
Well, you got to have nature in order to have laws
Yeah.
of nature. And if you don't have nature laws of order, how the hell are you going to say that nature causes nothing to come into existence? It's bullshit. Go ahead, Dorganfly. Lay us the smackdown.
Okay, so, well, I wanted to point this out earlier at that previous video of Dawkins, because Dawkins was caught in an interview with Ben Stein, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but Ben Stein started to really press him with questions of where we come from. And it's ironic that Dawkins himself said, you know, we don't know. If for all we know, we could be aliens. You know, our DNA is, he even admitted that it appears very much so designed. And he said that it's possible that aliens from a far off galaxy have planted us here with no technology to fend for ourselves. So I found that point pretty funny. But to address the video that we just watched, this is one of the 6 types of evolution that people get into. So they kind of do coincide with each other. When you get into cosmic evolution, it kind of wraps into stellar or planetary evolution, and all of these would have to happen in order for organic evolution to happen. So the origin of time, space, and matter is the cosmic evolution. So scientists will say that 18 to 20 billion years ago, the Big Bang happened. So again, it's not observable to see the Big Bang. We can see the remnants of an expansion. I would agree with that. There is some type of expansion. I would say it's God's hand in the mix, but they would say it's from this Big Bang. Now, they say that this happens also 80 to 100 billion years. Every single 80 to 100 billion years, this happens again. Everything collapses back on itself into an infinitesimal dot of nothing and explodes out again. So the strange thing is that from 1894 to 1983, so that's, you know, it's a pretty good gap, like 100 years. This dot has literally gone. This infinitesimal dot of nothing that they're saying in 2020 has gone from light years in diameter to the trillionth of the diameter of a proton. So you can see it change constantly. This theory changed constantly. I believe that was Bolton Heiser that said that. So now they're literally saying it's so small that it was nothing that exploded into everything. Interestingly enough, Alan Guth actually says, he claims the evolution of the universe came from nothing. So 20 billion, this is the irony, okay? 20 billion years ago, scientists have no idea where all the matter passed into this dot came from. So all of the dirt, all of the stars, all of the planets, they have no idea where any of that came from. But yet when a creationist or someone that believes in an intelligent designer say that this is God that did this, that created everything, they'll ask, well, where did God come from? As if their answer is better than ours. I find it incredibly ironic. And when it comes to the Big Bang, there's so many things we could talk about. But I find it interesting when you delve deep into the theory. They assume that this dot, the trillionth the diameter of a proton, was spinning in one direction, spinning incredibly fast. Now, you can do this with a merry-go-round. If you put a bunch of kids on the merry-go-round and you start spinning around, you get some football players, you know, you get up to 30 miles an hour and these kids are laughing and screaming and having a good time. Well, when you get up to 60 miles an hour, the kids stop screaming, you know, they're trying to hold on. And when you get to about 90 miles an hour, the kids all start flying off. The thing is this, it shows you the law of conservation of angular momentum. So everything that flies off that merry-go-round, every single kid and ball cap or whatever, it's all going to spin in the same direction, spinning outwards from the merry-go-round. Nothing would spin backwards to the angular momentum. And this is the law of conservation of angular momentum. Now you can question a lot of atheists on this. And I don't know too many guys that specialize in cosmology, but 8 of the 91 moons that we observe spin backwards to their planets. Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune all have moons that spin backwards. In fact, entire universes spin backwards. Or sorry, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune, those planets spin backwards, and they have moons that spin backwards to them. And then you've got entire galaxies spinning backwards. So it's really hilarious to me that they think that this tiny dot of spinning stuff can defy the law of angular momentum that we observe when a comet hits something and spins off, and you can see all of the little rocks spinning off of that. Like it's mind blowing to me, actually. But the Big Bang is a big dud, in my opinion.
Yeah, that sounds like you watch Ken Hovind, don't you?
I watch a lot of creationists.
This is Ken Hovind argument.
Well, angular momentum is a good argument, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's
It's a
so much other.
merry-go-round.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much other good argument, like you said. Like you see, they're assuming that energy could be eternal, material can be eternal, but God cannot be eternal. This is stupidity.
Let me throw something out there for Mr. Dorganfly, see if he likes this. Let's say, hypothetically, the Big Bang model of the universe that a Catholic, by the way, originally came up with were true. Wouldn't this mean that the supernatural of the universe, by definition, would be supernatural? Would you like me to give you an example?
Yeah, please give me an example.
Okay, so they're stating that there was a singularity expansion of space, time, matter, everything that we see in the observable universe would have a beginning, including nature itself. So whatever existed prior to it, nature and time and space wouldn't have existed. By definition, the supernatural is that which is beyond the laws of nature. Well, if nature didn't exist, there was no laws of nature. Therefore, the origin of the universe, the Big Bang model, is supernatural, and we are the result of a miracle.
Yeah, I would completely agree with everything there. Yeah, we would be the product of a supernatural event.
Now, can you do me a favor, John and Dorganfly? Can you keep the human zoo clean? I'll be right back in just a moment.
All right,
You guys gonna be all right doing this live broadcast on yourself? I'm trusting you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we'll be all right. And after you get back, I gotta drop TJ off.
I understand. I'll be right back very quickly.
All right. Anyone else in the live show wants to come in and participate? The link is right there for everyone to join.
John, I put up that overlay just a moment ago because a couple atheists came in, decided to show their penis. It was not seen on the live broadcast, but don't just put anybody up there unless you know them, all right?
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah.
Be right
That's
back.
Good. Very good. Brett's quick on the trigger finger. He takes out the trash pretty quick. I didn't even see anyone come in.
Yeah, you gotta work fast, man. It's a big world. It's a big
gotta
world.
Go fast. Like Sonic, gotta go fast.
There you go.
I was actually wanting to comment on, I guess, the National Geographic book.
You like the comic book I was showing off?
Yeah. I saw Spinosaurus on one screen. What was that one about?
The Spanish one? There's a
Spinosaurus. Looks like a crocodile face.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hold on, let me see. Let me get that page back up. It looks like a crocodile. Yeah, these scientists have a large imagination. They sure do, right? Oh, let me look for that. That's what page is that? That's funny. That one looked like a. Geez, I don't know what that one is. You got a good eye there. You caught something I probably didn't even notice.
Well, dinosaurs are interesting creatures too. You know, like we're talking about giant lizards here, and we can see that they're giant lizards. Lizards don't stop growing in their lifetime. That's an observable fact. If you give them the environment, the oxygen, and the pressure, they'll actually grow huge. You know, you change your snake's cage because you don't want to stunt the snake's growth. So dinosaurs are very interesting. It actually proves that we've had a very, very different atmosphere in the past, including more pressure, more oxygen, and more food, for that matter.
Is this the one you were talking about? This artist rendition?
Yeah. Do you know what that's meant to be about? What it's supposed to say on that, with that, in regards to that?
It doesn't actually cite anything. It's just a picture of what an artist's imagination, what they think what these big lizards, whatever, look like.
My best guess is the reason that it's talked about in there, and even like you said on the cover, river monsters kind of thing, Has to do with the fact.
All right, Spinosaurus, two Spinosaurus hunt a swordfish in a river system that covered what is now Morocco more than 95 million years ago. Hassam Shalom, God forbid. So that's what it says. It says that it's from Morocco when Morocco was covered with water. That's what it says. If I can get it to focus. I don't know why it's not focusing. Come on. Little bastard doesn't want to focus. Oh, okay. Anyway.
Well, the reason I was asking is because the Spinosaurus, for a while, everybody thought was bipedal. But a couple years ago, they found that its front arms were longer, so it's more of a quadruped. And then, as of recently, they found almost like a fin on its tail, making it more of an aquatic creature.
Very interesting. Oh, there it goes. There, it finally focused. It has
95 million years ago. I question that so much with a 300% error rate in all dating methods, and they're calling it 95 million. Like, you find a bone, you just know that something died, man.
Right, yeah, I mean that's the whole point of this, right? It's an artist rendition, it's speculation, no one really knows. It's funny. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I like the reboot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think reimagining dinosaurs from rainbow feathers to river monsters gets a modern reboot. I love reboots. I don't know about you, but I love reboots. I sometimes like I mean, the new Ghostbusters with the women cast, it was all right. I mean, I like the original. But rebooting this is what it says. This is what the comic book says. We're rebooting the modern dinosaur. They're rebooting it. They're starting over. So
they're remaking it, and every time they remake something, they screw it up. I like the Jurassic Park dinosaur.
I'm not even bullshitting you. That's literally what this magazine says. They're rebooting the image of dinosaurs, and they're telling you right to your face that it's all bullshit, and they're making it up and they're redoing it. It's Hollywood.
So what do you think about this? Apparently, if you look in this image, you can see dinosaurs walking around. They're claiming that these rat-looking things with the cool-ass World of Warcraft symbols on their back, that used to be us. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree with that nonsense?
I could never believe that. That seems like just pure illogical nonsense.
Are you able to read this, Mr. Dorganfly? You've got a great voice. Would you be able to, can you see? Wait a second. Let me change the screen over real quick. Let me see what we got here.
Can you put us on the side and then the article on the...
Yeah, I'll do all that. I just wanted people to be able to see it as well.
Well, zoom in your browser, put it up to like 150, 200 or something like that.
You able to see that, Mr. Dorganfly?
Yeah, I can read that. You want me to read the highlighted part?
Yeah.
All right, let me give this a shot. I suck at reading, so this will be good.
I'll be right back, Brett. I got to drop TJ off at the pool.
All right.
Go ahead.
Another source of conviction in the existence of God, connected with the reason and not with the feelings, impresses me as having much more weight. This follows from the extreme difficulty, or rather impossibility, of conceiving this immense and wonderful universe, including man, with his capacity of looking far backwards and far into the futurity. That's an interesting word. As a result of blind chance or necessity. When thus reflecting, I feel compelled to look to a first cause, having an intelligent mind in some degree analogous, to that of man, and I deserve to be called a theist. Charles Darwin, the founder of evolutionary biology, as quoted in his autobiography. This is funny, actually, because Charles Darwin was studying to be a pastor before he took his little trip to go collect bugs on a boat in the Galapagos Islands for some, early day scientists. That's when he discovered Darwin's finches.
So here we have the very founder of evolution, and we can also look in The Descent of Man, which apparently a lot of atheists don't even bother reading, where he repeatedly refers to him as a theist, but they'll put up memes without any kind of references or where we can find any of the information they claim. And I've given books and pages and all that kind of stuff to show. Are you aware that Mr. Albert Einstein was quoted for stating, "The more I study science, the more I believe in God"? Have you guys heard this?
Yeah, very much so. I'm pretty sure I've actually read a few quotes from Einstein that really pointed him in the direction of God. Maybe not so much in his early science days, but definitely in the
Well,
later,
he
for
was
sure.
Jewish, so that would make sense regardless. But I was actually gonna ask a question, particularly for Dorganfly. Do you know exactly when they started saying that there are birds in the Cretaceous?
When they started saying there are birds in the Cretaceous?
Yeah, at least acknowledging it.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't even know.
Best guess I've come up with is with Vagavus, that duck that they found a couple years ago. But interesting enough, we've actually had evidence of multiple birds within the Cretaceous, at least in a book published in 1988.
All right, got one more for you there, Dorganfly, and then we'll take a break from quotes for a little bit.
Sure,
You got a
sure.
good voice, and you read just fine, Mr. Dorganfly.
I stumble a little bit, but all right. Round 2, let's go. I'm not an atheist, and I don't think I can call myself a pantheist. We are in the position of a little child entering a huge library filled with books in many languages. The child knows someone must have written these books. It does not know how. It does not understand the languages in which they are written. The child dimly suspects mysterious order in the books, but doesn't know what it is. That, it seems to me, is the attitude of even the most intelligent human being toward God. Albert Einstein, cited in Anthony Flew. Wow, yeah, he's a big atheist. There is a God. How the world's most notorious atheist changed his mind. Interesting.
There you go. Now, isn't it interesting, some of the extraordinary claims? Let's go for a little bit of intelligent design a little bit and talk a little bit about Judaism and Christianity, how it mixes in. What do you say, Mr. Dorgan? I got some points, and I'd like to hear your view on it.
Yeah. So you want me to just explain my base understanding of it?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some points out and then see what your thoughts are, and then you throw some points out, and we'll kind of do a back and forth. In the Bible, what is the very first passage that it tells us in Genesis? Everybody should remember that.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
That's right. So the Bible tells us, it makes the extraordinary claim right off the bat that the universe has a beginning to it. Kind of sounds a little bit like the Big Bang model, which would explain why a Catholic ended up coming up with it, right? The Bible tells us that when the first life forms that came into existence were the creatures that God put in the sea. As far as it goes with man, notice God didn't pull a Chris Angel and say Habagadraba and all of a sudden man appeared. No, it says he actually used the dust of the earth. Where does dust come from, ladies and gentlemen? It comes from space. It comes from the depth of stars. And what does Carl Sagan, the scientist, say that we are? We are children of what? Anybody remember?
Children of the stars. Carl Sagan. Sorry, yeah.
Well, in a sense, he would be correct. God actually used the materials of the earth, and some of those materials were of dead stars of the universe. So there you go. They claim that the universe went through some kind of heating period, that it was lit up real bright, and all these materials would have come down to the earth, and God actually used natural materials in order to form us. Don't you find that interesting? It goes right along with science. What's your thoughts here, Mr. Dorgan? You have any points?
My point would be, regardless of the matter that pre-existed, even humans, we're talking about an unfathomable amount of power in a creative force that we can't even fathom. So I don't think he ever needed the dust of the earth. I think he chose to do it this way for a lot of symbology reasons, I guess you could say. But yeah, God is super powerful. That's for sure. But it is an interesting fact that our bodies are made up of a lot of carbon, and that we share a lot of things with this earth.
Well, let's say, Mr. Dorganfly, and this is something I've thrown at some skeptics out there, but they are convinced that all of everything that we know of, every material and property on the earth, then and now, existed within the properties of the singularity. To them, the singularity was literally a cauldron, a melting pot of all the properties that exist in the universe now. If they are convinced of that, then why wouldn't they be convinced that the very properties made up and compromised that of a great big mind? Since the very thing created the recipe of minds itself. Go ahead, Dorgan.
I mean, that's a very interesting point. And I think, especially when you're dealing with atheists or secular scientists or people that, might say, like, I don't see evidence for God. I think it literally relies on moral accountability. They don't necessarily want God to exist. Therefore, they try to prove it away. And that's sad, really, because when you get into the Bible and you get into what Jesus did for everybody, what God did for everybody, it's a gift. You don't work for it. I mean, you don't have to go to church if you don't want to. You don't have to tell your friends and family. It's a relationship between you and the Creator, and it's offered freely. And to me, it's just, I've got atheistic friends, and it actually hurts my soul. It really does. I get emotional thinking about, that they might lose out on everything that is good, like being separated from God. So, yeah.
Oh, I wanted to throw something out there real quick. A couple of days ago, I was talking to a bunch of non-believers, and they were talking about how they believe that atheists are so much smarter than religious people. And one of their examples was George Carlin. I was wanting to share something with them real quick. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah, sure. George Carlin. He's quite the comedian. I'm ready.
This is George Carlin himself, right before he passed away.
Well, atheism is a belief, so I'm not an atheist, because that's something you have to believe.
Also makes a definitive statement. There is no you.
It's time to commit.
So what do you say there, Mr. Dorgan?
Oh, absolutely. Being an atheist is a type of belief. And, I'll say this about evolution as well. You believe that something happened long ago and far away. You make a logical deduction from effect to cause. So you don't see the cause first and go to effect. You're moving from what we have and saying, how did this happen? So with atheism, they are putting they're placing their wager behind know about existing. And it honestly scares the crap out of me, if God exists, what they're going to have to deal with.
Now, Mr. Dorganfly, Richard Dawkins, you brought up the movie Expelled earlier.
Yeah.
Now, did Mr. Dawkins, if my memory serves me right, he claims that evolution doesn't require, or abiogenesis requires, a guided process. But didn't he argue on that movie that we may have come from panspermia, from aliens maybe hosting us here?
Oh, sure. And honestly, when it comes to aliens, you'll always end up in an infinite regress. So you'll go, okay, humans, okay, maybe aliens, okay, but where did the aliens come from? If we can't observe any abiogenesis occurring, nor do it in a lab with intervention, how could we logically deduce that those aliens came about by themselves? That's completely illogical, right? So you're in an infinite regress until you get to an uncaused first cause. And that's what we mean when we talk about God. He's the uncaused first cause, completely eternal.
Right. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. If the universe by origin is supernatural by definition, then whatever existed prior would have been outside of time, space, and matter itself. That would mean logically and rationally that whatever that mover was, it couldn't have been a naturalistic mover because it was outside nature. It would have to be timeless, eternal, and powerful enough to create a universe. We only have one word that has ever described such a thing, and that would be God. There is no other word or scientific term that would be able to explain something with that form of ability. Do you agree?
Oh, I completely agree. Nature can't create itself. God cannot be confined. The creator of something cannot be confined by what it creates. So if it's time, space, and matter, God cannot be trapped inside of time, space, and matter. That's impossible. It's illogical, right?
Exactly. Now there is some scientific observations that we do have that actually go against evolution. things that we know exist, such as the second law of thermodynamics. Is anybody familiar with entropy, cosmos entropy, as well as genetic entropy?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Everything ordered moves towards disorder, especially in a closed system. And the Earth, the universe itself is certainly a closed system. I mean, you look up at the sun, it's beating you with radiation. People say, oh, yeah, you get a little vitamin D from it. Yeah, sorry, dude, but it's the reason you wrinkle up and die. It's the reason you change the shingles on your house. It's detrimental to your existence as a biological organism on a tiny piece of dust in space. So entropy absolutely is one of the biggest things that kills evolution.
Now, you're pointing out that because of entropy, we age, we die, metal, rust, all these things around us deteriorate after a while because it just simply becomes more and more generic, more disordered. So why is that a problem for something like evolution, Mr. Dorganfly? Can you explain from your viewpoint?
Yeah, the way I understand it is you don't get any positive gain in genetic information when you have the laws of entropy abounding. So we're continually getting worse, and we can observe that. And evolutionists will try to fight constantly for these positive effects, while there's no genetic information being added to any DNA. Any organism for that matter. You might get an adaptation, which I agree with. The microevolution, loosely called. But at the same time, you're losing genetic information. So you can see that in the history of humans, for that matter. Especially when you're intermarrying with close kin, you can see it speed up very rapidly. So genetics are absolutely subjected to the laws of entropy. It's a loss of information over time, and that's one thing that you cannot get around because it is a law. It's not subjective.
Does anyone else want to share their views on this? How do you see this possible? Evolution, by definition, is something that is supposed to have changes that actually add. Have you ever asked an atheist? Because I notice when you're talking to a non-believer, they say, well, the reason why these things go through changes, it's like a copy machine that creates errors, and these errors are called mutations. Well, what kind of mutation creates a limb? What kind of mutation is going to create 5 digits on the hand? What is this? What is this magical property? Could I find it on Earth right now? So if someone doesn't have a hand, you know how they always say God can't heal amputees? Well, if we have the properties on the Earth, shouldn't we be able to do this? I mean, that's what they claim.
We can heal a lot of Nakasuchis. We can get them new
that's
legs.
Hateful, John. Hateful. Goodness, you better be careful. Whatever that is on your plate, it might evolve and bite you. So what do you think?
Well, and I mean, like, in all reality, I would love a set of wings. Wings would be incredibly positive. I grew these hands, apparently, according to evolution, and I got these little fingers that can do all types of intricate things, including this brain. Why don't I have a set of wings yet? Flying around the Earth would be a lot easier than taking a plane. I would have been able to, dodge a lot of predators if I had a set of wings. So, yeah. When's that going to happen? I wonder.
I hear you. What kind of properties would I need to have wings so I can fly down to the gas station, pick up my pack of cigarettes, and not have to waste any kind of gas in this horrible economy we live in right now because of coronavirus? I agree with you. I hear you there.
It'd also be environmentally friendly too. What do you think? No more fossil fuels.
Oh yeah, never late for work again, man. I'm telling you, I never would be. Traffic, no problem.
All right, we got something else right here. Let me highlight.
What's up, the garbage you got for us now, bro?
Oh, you're gonna love this. Atheists are always claiming, Christians, they wouldn't make good scientists, even though we happen to make up 95% of the science community since the beginning.
Get rid of that fucking gray highlight shit. I'll read it. Just make it regular, normal shit.
You want to read it this time?
Yeah,
all right, we'll give Mr. a break. All right, go ahead.
Both religion and science require a belief in God. For believers, God is the beginning, and for physicists, he is at the end of all considerations. To the former, he is the foundation, to the latter, the crown of the edifice of every generalized worldview. There can never be any real opposition between religion and science, for the one will complement the other. For every serious and reflective person realizes, I think, that the religious element in nature must be recognized and cultivated if all the powers of the human soul are to act together in perfect balance and harmony. And indeed, it was not by accident that the greatest thinkers of all the ages were deeply religious souls. Max Planck, Nobel Prize winning physicist who made the fucking crucial scientific contribute. What does that say? Contribution of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, quantum physics. Planck was a devoted Christian, a member of the Lutheran Church in Germany.
Let me ask you all something real quick. Can you think of 3 atheist scientists that actually came up with something that personally impacts your life or has revolutionized things? Stephen Hawking isn't going to work. He told us that there's holes in space. It doesn't do shit for us, really. So what can you think of 3 scientists that were actually atheists who really gave us something super important besides
Brett, I'm going to have to finish. Let me finish the rest of this Maker's Mark bottle, and I'll come back to you, all right? That's going to be a while.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Mr. Dorgan, can you think of 3 atheists?
3 atheists that have, sorry, you said positively affected what, science or my life, or what was the question again?
Some kind of
someone that didn't diddle someone or blow up some building, you know, someone that actually did something nice. Not like David Silverman or something like some trash like that, you know.
I really can't. It seems like the atheistic secular science community is moving towards philosophical debates these days. So when it really comes down to it, no, I don't see any. I mean, I remember the guy that created the MRI. He was Christian. Like, that's an incredible piece of medical machinery. I know that Isaac Newton, you know, the fathers of science were Christian because they recognized that there was a God and that God is so brilliant that we would be able to observe these things and test them in nature. So I can't think of one atheist that has changed anything in my life except create more trolls to debate.
All right, if you don't mind, Mr. Sir Dorgan, you brought up Isaac Newton. It would be nice for us to be able to hear what Isaac thinks. You see the quote?
Yeah, I got the quote. I'll read it out. God created everything by number, weight, and measure. In the absence of any other proof, the thumb alone would convince me of God's existence. I have a fundamental belief in the Bible as the Word of God, written by those who are inspired. I study the Bible daily. Sir Isaac Newton, who is widely regarded to have been the greatest scientist in the world, or that the world has ever produced. Newton was a devout Christian. Amen to that.
All right. Now I've got a weird question for you. Does rationality and logic require a mind in order to comprehend and transcribe it?
That's a heavy one.
If there's, let's say, all the humans on the earth were to be wiped out, can logic and rationality exist? Would it have any relevancy without a mind to be able to observe and comprehend it and be able to communicate it?
Yeah, I don't think it would make sense. You know, that logic exists without humans. I see evidence that whatever created me is logical because I am logical myself.
A lot of atheist scientists were such as Stephen Hawking, Richard Dawkins, and so on. They were asked a question by a great mathematician that is still alive today by the name of John Lennox. He asked them, does the universe have logic and rationality to it, whether man has a subjective opinion about it or not? And Mr. Stephen Hawking said, well, it would have to be rational and logical. If it wasn't, we could not do science if the entire universe was in some form of chaos, shifting in and out of reality. Makes sense. We have to have consistency, patterns. That's the reason why we have laws, because there is order to the universe. We can't do science if there's no order. How would we? So with that being said, you just answered the question. In order for logic and rationality to exist, in order for the universe to exist, you require a mind. So there's another justification for intelligent design, folks. Any disagreements with what I just said?
No, I completely agree, and I want me some hot and spicy cheese puffs now. Thanks.
All right, can you guys keep the zoo clean for a moment, and I will be right back. John, if you would like to show off some more of that cartoon National Geographic, it's all good.
All right, I'll take a break from my cheese fries and show off some comic book. I don't know why I'm blurry, but yeah, let me go ahead. Again, this is like...
Remember, don't let anybody up unless you know who they are. Be right back.
I don't actually have that ability to do that. I was just actually joking before. But this is the, I think this is September or October National Geographic, and they are promoting this as reimagining the dinosaurs from rainbow feathers to river monsters. Prehistoric icons get a modern reboot. That's their words, not mine. Reimagining dinosaurs from rainbow feathers to river monsters. That's what they call river monsters. They're getting a reboot. Like the new Star Wars movie wasn't good. We're going to reboot it. We don't like the old dinosaurs. We're going to reboot it. Why not? Why not, right? So that's what
that's an interesting word, too, dinosaurs. Not a lot of people know the origin of the word dinosaurs, Dinosaurus, which actually comes from terrible lizard, great and terrible lizard. So before the word dinosaur even existed, especially for these birds, like I don't know how you can call a bird a dinosaur because it's not a great and terrible lizard. So people have been misusing the word dinosaur for a long time. But on top of that, like, look at this. This swordfish on screen right now, these things still exist. So it's funny that evolutionists will claim this.
Why
Sorry?
Why did the starfish survive but not the dinosaurs? That's a good
And
question.
that's what I'm saying. I had the a sawfish. Yes, exactly. I'm pretty sure we still have them in Amazon rivers if I'm correct.
Amazon, Australia, the ocean.
Yeah.
Look at this
We've all
rock
watched
monster.
River Monster.
You want to talk about rock monsters? Look at this beast. Holy
Man, it looks like a bear lizard. It looks crazy. It looks scary.
What is this?
That's a sculpture.
Well, it's a fake. Yeah, it's fake. Yes, Mr. Lizard, you're very right. Dinosaurs are fake. Some 166 million years ago, in what is now Oxfordshire County, England, the ground trembled with the footfalls of the first dinosaur. So they're claiming that the first dinosaur was English, European.
Wow.
No, wow.
Wow.
This is a sculpture by London's Crystal Palace Park in 1850. So yeah, nice. There you go.
I don't know. I think that's meant to be a sculpture of what's it called, iguanodon, back when they had some of the earlier depictions of it.
People digging in the dirt for evidence.
Well, and I've actually seen people bring up fish is a weird one because the fish that apparently Tiktaalik, which is another one that evolutionists like to use, the fish that apparently is the index fossil for the Tiktaalik still exists. You can still fish that fish out of the oceans, yet they're claiming it's an index fossil. So I sit there and I question, how do you logically say that this fish didn't evolve? Like, are you just saying that some of them evolved? Why do they still exist? Right?
You mean the flathead fish?
I don't know if it's a flathead fish. I'm pretty sure it was something with fin in its
So
name.
they don't even know their own BS. They said, did dinosaurs did dinosaurs take wing from the ground or glide down from trees or both? So now they're saying that dinosaurs are jumping out of trees to fly. That's how they were able to fly. They jumped out of trees like a flying squirrel. This is what they did. This is what they did. This is crazy, Meshuggah. This is craziness. Look at this one. This one's a cool looking one. This looks like a monster you get in a video game right here. This is they glided
like some
down
Final
from
Fantasy
trees.
summon or something. Yeah.
A micro raptor flew down from a tree. That's what they're saying. They flew down from trees. Could you imagine you're walking and a dinosaur just swoops down from a tree and just pecks your eyeballs out and eats you?
I mean, shoot, I've played Ark actually. I don't know if you guys have played Ark, but it's a PC dinosaur game.
Ark Survival.
And Ark Survival, man.
The freaking microraptors
talk about
are
scary.
annoying.
Yeah, like how do you avoid predators anyway?
Well, actually, I hate the
Look at this.
Tyrannosaurus.
Colored eggs like it's Easter. I mean, look at this. It's like my menorah with the candles. You have the different color candles. You have the different color eggs. Look at this. This is how goofy it is. It's like colored. It's like for kids. Colored eggs. It's like Easter, Brett. Colored eggs, red eggs, yellow eggs, green eggs.
I am back.
I think
I heard you guys. I've heard you guys mentioning Ark and some video games. Most of us in
when you
here,
said video games.
yeah, most of us are big time gamers, and that brings me to another argument. Dorganfly, can you think of the most ugliest, simple game that you've ever played? It could be the worst graphics in the world. Think of it. What do you got for me, John? What was your answer?
RuneScape.
I mean, yeah.
All right, what about you,
RuneScape is really bad. Oh man,
it just got re-released for Steam just this week. I'm gonna download it and play it.
Well, I guess I'm a little bit older than you guys. I existed during the time of Atari and Sega.
So you're gonna say Pong?
Oh wow.
Ping pong, Pac-Man, kangaroo, where you throw apples at a kangaroo's asshole. Now, the reason why I bring this up, not just to get into exciting talk of games, but I have asked atheists, what is the dumbest game that they can think of they've ever played? And they mention it. And as soon as they do, I ask them, is it possible for that game, that the worst game you can think of, to have come into existence without a developer or a programmer? And not one of them can say yes to that. They do not believe, even if given billions of years, something as ugly as ping pong could come into existence. But somehow they think the complexity of our universe and human existence can just fart here and boom, voila.
Yeah, no, it's completely illogical, right? I mean, I guess I kind of come from that era, not quite Atari, but I did play some TurboGrafx. NES and Super Nintendo. I would probably have to say I played the Atari version of Pitfall, and that was the worst game I think I've ever played in my life.
Now, Brett, just because it's an old game like Atari doesn't mean it's ugly looking. I mean, you have good games like Super Mario Brothers for the NES, Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. There's some good games out there, man.
That wasn't too bad, but the point was
Don't
to
be
take
such a
the
bigot.
worst. The point is you take the worst game with the worst graphics, and still an atheist would not be able to argue that can come into existence naturally. You follow?
Right. No,
One
yeah.
of them. Even
You'd be waiting there all your life, Brett. I mean, I did a YouTube video 10 years ago when I first started on YouTube. I took a big bucket of slime, like a big goo bucket. I put it in my garage. I filmed my YouTube. I said, okay, we're gonna watch this involved. I did like a YouTube video like once a month. I said nothing's coming out of this bucket. It's deader than JC on Good Friday, and it's just nothing's happening, man. So we're still waiting. I got that bucket out back. It's 10 years later. I guess nothing's growing, man. Nothing's growing.
So, Mr. Dorganfly, don't you find it strange? And John's got a good point. We waited forever for that slime to do something, perhaps dance to a Billie Jean song or something. But don't you find it odd that the atheist finds it unusual, the concept of the Son of God rising from death, yet they believe that the entire human race came out of non-existence, which in definition would be death, would it not be? So they believe in spontaneous generation, yet the concept of one man with divinity coming into existence is unusual to them when they believe that about themselves, though.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy, and that's a really good point, actually. You believe in one miracle, but you don't believe in another, right? So a lot of the time, especially when I'm talking to people, like I'll point out just the complexity of DNA. 3.5 billion coherent sentences all placed in perfect order. And if you start screwing with that, you're going to end up with problems, whether it be a genetic defect, sickness, or death. You're going to run into some problems, right? So if you think that came by chance, 3.5 billion coherent sentences placed in perfect order, and that's at the molecular level, and you're going to say that happened from an explosion, I might as well go take a stick of C4 and throw it into a printing press, and 100 Qurans will pop out, perfectly ordered. It's just it's ludicrous. It's absolute ludicrous, but it's a huge faith premise. It's a leap for them.
I've heard atheists laugh at me and John and other theists and say things to the effect of, oh, so you believe that there were two people that lived in a paradise, like a jungle or forest area, and had a symbiotic relationship with everything, even though science agrees. but they somehow had a conversation with a talking serpent is what they laugh about. And I'm like, sir, aren't you the one telling me that you believe that you came from a damn baboon, the womb of a baboon, and somehow developed the ability to speak and have a conversation, yet you have issue with this?
Oh, and it goes back even further, and I know I touched on Ken Hovind a little earlier with Mr. Lizard, but it's true. Ken Hovind gives some great arguments, and the funniest one that I've heard is like, I believe that God created everything and that everything's designed. And you don't accept me teaching that in a public school system. In fact, I'll get fired for it. But yet you can tell people that they came from a rock, that the earth was a hot molten mass and it rained on the rocks, and you crawled out of this soup from rocks. Like, you believe that your ancestor was a rock. It's just absolutely, it's bat crazy to me.
We got a short quote. Who would like to read it?
I'll go. It looks like Avram is enjoying his spicy Cheetos. Okay. The fanatical atheists are like slaves who are still feeling the weight of their chains, which they have thrown off after a hard struggle. They are creatures who, in their grudge against traditional religion, as the opium of the masses, cannot hear the music of the spheres. Albert Einstein. That's brilliant. Absolutely. And there's a very clear hard bias when it comes to atheists. When you put an A in front of a word, it means the exact opposite. So I've heard people say, I'm an agnostic atheist. Whoa, hold on a sec. Because the definition of atheist, you don't believe in anything. But then you're going to claim to be an agnostic and say, well, I don't think I can know everything. There's a very clear difference between an agnostic and an atheist, and that's why these definitions were created, not in the same. So if you look at the word muse, for instance, to muse is to think. To sit and muse about something is to think about something deeply. But when you put an A in front of it, now you're at amuse. So what do? You go to a theme park to be amused. You're not thinking about anything. The same thing goes with theist. When you're just a theist, you believe in God. You believe that there's intelligent design. When you're an atheist, you completely reject the idea of God, regardless. And that's a huge bias to hold, especially when you've got atheists in their own community coming out and saying, yeah, we don't actually know what happened. We don't actually know where we came from.
So nowadays, I've noticed that guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is admittedly an agnostic, but prefers just to be called a scientist, and guys like Bill Nye, who I call the Pee Wee Herman version of atheism, they are arguing that we may live in a simulation, and that would be kind of like the inside of the gaming world. Wouldn't that require a developer and programmer? It seems like atheists are now attempting to create a technological God. Do you agree?
Oh, and absolutely. And I'm very quick to bring up to the atheists that in the beginning of the Bible, in Exodus of the Bible, it's the first book to talk about a matrix. So when people talk about being in a simulation, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not saying we're not in some type of simulation, but this is what I know as reality. In fact, the Bible talks about a matrix. Completely in the realm of God, even though I think that Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye are absolutely crazy for a lot of their beliefs.
I don't think any of these people would know what reality is if it jumped up and bit them on their ass.
Well, yeah.
We live in a fantasy world.
If we did live in a simulation, how would we be able to actually differentiate between what we perceive as reality to that of a simulation, though? Especially if the power was good and we didn't often see glitches in it.
I mean, well, yeah, and that's another deep topic. When you talk about glitches, you talk about spiritual interaction, which I don't know. I've had experiences in the past that I couldn't really explain. In fact, before I was a true believer, I messed with things that I shouldn't have messed with, and experienced things that absolutely convinced me that there are types of glitches in the Matrix, but you have to consciously look for them, and you actually have to do some pretty stupid stuff to get to them. So
that is
I
true.
believe, yeah, it's a spiritual thing. Yeah.
So, John, do you agree, as well as Mr. Dorgan and Mr. Lizard, do you agree that any game that you've ever played, there's always some kind of logic to it? There's always some kind of rationality. Obviously, there's math involved in programming. Now, the question is there usually an objective purpose or function to any game that you play out there?
I would say for the most part, yes. But when it comes to a Bethesda game, Fallout or Elder Scrolls, I don't know about that. I don't know how to answer that one.
Well, when I say objective point or goal in Fallout, it has quests, right? It has things that it wants you to do. You can either play an evil character good, but the point is that you can choose to do different things within the parameters that the developers have created for you. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
I would agree 100% for sure. There's always an objective, and I see that objective in life as well. You know, knowledge is a level up for me.
So when we're playing a game and we're playing something that involves existing characters or NPCs and all this, there's always some kind of developed purpose and function to it. So let's get over to reality here real quick. When we're talking to a non-believer, if we were to ask them, does their brain and their mind serve some kind of purpose or function? Does existence seem to have goals for us to be able to do in order to improve and become better citizens of our community? I think everybody would agree that that's the way our system is set up. Then how can someone argue that there isn't a developer behind this, a programmer behind the whole deal?
For the most part, for reasonable, rational, sensible people. But for atheists, is there any sort of wheels turning up there, man? That's a good question to ask.
Yeah, and I mean, I see the common objective. It's universally shared among humans, is love. That is essentially the goal, right? Whether it's to love someone or love something, or it always revolves around love. So if I was to ask God, you know, what's the meaning of life, I'm pretty sure he would say, you know, love, to love me, to love the creation that I get, to love the thousands of flavors of food, including spicy Cheetos that don't taste like just corn, to love all of that stuff, right?
Folks, it looks like we have someone who wants to come in and talk to us real quick. Let's see who this is.
What's their name? He looks like he's over the hill. What the fuck is he doing, bro? God, he looks like his fucking eyeballs are gonna pop. He looks like he's gonna have a stroke.
That looked like Sir Anthony Hopkins.
He don't look too good, man. He don't look too good, brother.
Was that Anthony Hopkins headbanging for us? Well, the man's like, come on, John. The man's 80 years old and he's headbanging.
He's 80 years old. He should be in a fucking nursing home like Sleepy Joe Biden. He shouldn't be headbanging.
You can't say that about Odin of the Avengers and Thor. Are you kidding me? So, Dorgan, let's try something really, really simple for the atheists. Let's see if we can try this out. What would you say, Dorgan, if you had to guess, what is the smallest passage that you can think of in the entire Bible? New Testament and Old Testament.
Oh, I know there's a one. Is there a one-worder? I don't want to say it's Maranatha. But for a small passage, I guess for me, the one that I always remember is the fear. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That would be mine.
There's one that's a bit shorter than that. John, you want to take a hit at it?
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. What do we got for us?
Even shorter than that. The shortest one that ever exists in the Bible is Jesus wept. That's the shortest passage there is.
I should know that. Well played.
There's a point to it, though. Does anyone in here or any atheist out in the comments believe that the words Jesus wept could come into existence without a mind writing it first or putting it forth? Does anybody in here believe that something as simple as Jesus wept could come into existence all by itself naturally? Anybody? Dead silence. Grasshoppers from the Book of Numbers. Cricket, cricket, cricket. I hear you. No, because it's impossible. Anyone who thinks that something as complex as the language of our anatomy and our cell setup is simply by random chance or naturalistic means, they're out of their mind. It's insanity. Have we ever demonstrated at all that life can come from nothing, folks? At all?
I'll be honest with you. Some of the haters, trolls, and fools that we get in the room are so fucking subhuman that you kind of wonder, like, did they evolve from fucking pond scum? But you know, for the most part, Brad, like, I got to say no to that question. No offense, Brad.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. Dorgan, you've got any more points? I mean, if you guys are almost ready, we can open up the discussion. I have repeatedly posted the link out. If any atheists oppose these views, they are more than welcome to come in and try to defend their worldview.
I mean, as far as points goes, I constantly run into atheists that don't even know what they mean when they talk about evolution. So when it comes to micro and macro specifically, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're talking about an observable positive gain in the genetic structure that leads to something effective, not neutral or negative, right? On top of that, you've got atheists that don't know even the 6 definitions of evolution: chemical evolution, chemical or cosmic, chemical, stellar, organic, micro, and macro. So, you know, if you guys really want to talk trash and call us stupid, you know, and call us unintelligible, I would encourage you to study your own religion before you start attacking mine. That's a big one for me.
Looks like our buddy John is about to play him some Elder Scrolls. Yes, Elder Scrolls Online.
You gonna hop on with me one day soon, Brett?
Hop on sooner or later, man. I am enjoying the podcast, so hopefully we get some more folks in to have some discussion. So is there any other points you'd like to put forth, Dorgan, about why you feel there's justification for God, and some more things about atheism? I do want to point this out to folks out here. Statistics claim that people who are spiritual tend to live longer, happier, more joyous lives, as where atheists and agnostics and transgenders and homosexuals statistically have the highest suicide rate and substance abuse of all times. And if I were to ask any of you out there, does atheism by definition benefit society? I don't think any of you would be able to suggest that it does. Any other words on that, folks?
I mean, I did want to point out, like, when we're talking about rational deduction for intelligent design, moving from effect to cause. I mean, take one cell being more complex than a space shuttle, or take a bumblebee brain. That's a great example. A bumblebee brain being more powerful than a supercomputer in the way it works. So for me, I find it completely rational to place my wager behind an all-powerful, loving creator. Now, I know that people have issues with that. Some of the biggest issues revolve around suffering. The problem of suffering is very existent, especially in the trans LGBT community. A lot of the time, these people have really been hurt in the past, and dealing with the problem of suffering, you have to know why we suffer, and you have to know how to solve that suffering. And for the atheist or the non-believer, you really have no hope. There is no hope for you. I would offer you this hope. Literally, belief in the one that God sent to pay for your sin. Everybody sins. Everybody's lied. Everybody's stolen. Everybody does. It's constant. You're never going to be perfect, but you're a sinner. And unless you can humble yourself and admit that and be like, okay, well, God very well could be real, you're always going to wonder when you die, have you placed your wager properly? And for me, that's heavy. Like I say, my heart goes out to anybody dealing with the problem of suffering. Don't be hopeless, man. Place your wager properly.
Exactly. If there's anybody out there, this is another thing that's really important. Our elections are coming up. Make sure you all support Donald Trump. We do have something interesting we may want to hear from Joe Biden real quick. Do you guys got a moment? Joe Biden's got something to say.
Sure. Always room for Biden. This is Biden
Centered
my
in
time.
Orleans Parish. In a confidential portions of your staff memo, they brought to your attention the allegation that important legislators in defeating the Nunes plan in the basement said, quote, "We already have a nigger mayor. We don't need any more nigger big shots." And the court cited evidence of
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
There we go. That's Biden for us, folks.
Sounds like he uses that word too much. Just saying.
That's rough. Anybody got something to say about what Biden just did?
Get the fuck out of here, bitch!
All right. There we go. We've got that settled.
It's been settled.
All right. Do you play Elder Scrolls Online, Mr. Dorgan?
No, to be honest with you, I have kind of a bad experience with video games. I tend to get really addicted to video games. So in the past, I've spent far too much time. And I think in the last year and a half, my life has positively increased by completely getting rid of them and just concentrating on studying and concentrating on God and what I need to do for my family.
See, that's one of the things John keeps saying, Brett, you need to get back into gaming and all this. And unfortunately, when I get into a game, I get committed. I get involved. You won't see me for days if I get into it. So that's why I try to take my time with jumping into a game.
Brad, I got a bunch of dungeons on Elder Scrolls that I need help with, man. This dungeon I'm playing right now, I'm doing it solo, but I need fucking team member here to help me. I'm getting down to like a prison bitch.
Well, I don't mind doing quests with you and all that, but I don't know about us just two-handing it going into a dungeon, man. Oof.
You can't do it? You can't Leroy Jenkins it, man?
I don't know, man. If you end up pulling the 3 mobs or something, I'm a pro at healing, but damn it. I'm a doctor, Tim. You know what I mean?
Vaughn and I used to fucking dual dungeons together. Fucking, it says recommended 14 people. Me and Vaughn would fucking do it together, man. Wipe up the whole dungeon, man. Fucking Vaughn knew how to kick ass.
Just the 2 of you?
Yep. Oh, we got it on the channel, man. Go to Games You Love. You see fucking Vaughn and me kicking ass a whole dungeon, just the 2 of us.
The last time I played with Vaughn, he didn't even know what direction he was going in. He was like, what button do I push to heal myself?
Yeah, but that's like fucking 3-4 months ago, man. You don't know. He's a big fucking professional now.
Oh, he got himself, he evolved, did he?
He evolved like a Pokemon, yeah, like a dinosaur.
Well, I might consider it. I might have to try it. If there's any non-believers out there, agnostics, or people of other faiths who actually do believe they came from a fucking rodent or evolved from a slug, feel free to come in and tell us about it. We do like talking Mickey Mouse creatures.
Yeah, no doubt. I wanted to touch on the whole. I heard you bring up Pokemon, and my friends get a kick out of this. But I had a baby last Christmas, so he's like 10 months old right now. But I always refer to him as a new Pokemon, a mix of DNA and genetics for me and my wife. He's a whole new Pokemon, man. They love it. They love it. But he didn't evolve. That's all I'm saying.
Well, congratulations on that. I heard you saying something over in Discord about you got a baby to deal with and all that. It's one of the most beautiful things. I don't know if you know this about me, Dorgan, but I used to be a non-believer. I was actually one of the first ones that came to social media running my damn mouth and talking about shit I didn't even know what I was talking about. And boy, atheists loved the shit out of that. But I ended up having me some children. And I could not look into their eye and just see them as a cul-de-sac and nothing more. There just seemed to be something beyond humanity for me when I looked into their little eyes. It was as if a miracle had consumed me, and I just couldn't do the dead-end atheism anymore.
So you don't think we're just hamburger meat in a fucking skin bag, huh, Brett?
When you're looking down at your own child and stuff, this beautiful little creature and everything, there's no way you can say, oh yeah, there's my little evolved rat. There's my evolved slug. You know what I mean? That's my amoeba, my maggot. You know what I mean?
You look at some of these people's
I
kids, you
totally
might
hear you.
fucking
Yeah.
want to think that a couple of times. Just saying.
And does anybody, even if you're an atheist or agnostic, do you ever actually look in the mirror and go, "Ooh, look at this! The universe randomly put my organism together pretty good." I mean, nobody does that. And when you're trying to date a woman, do you say, "Oh, yes, your cells are compatible with my organism"? No, you're like, you're an angel. You are proof that angels exist and that God is real when you speak to a woman. That's just the way it is. Am I right?
Well,
Right, but you're
it delves
fortunate enough to talk to
even
a woman.
deeper.
These people are nerds, man. They haven't got laid in. They couldn't get laid at the corpse in the morgue if the corpse was nailed to the tables, Brett. Come on, you know that.
I hear you. What did you have for us, Dorgan?
Well, to touch even on that point, I've had some friends recently, and they're like, there's nothing in my local area that I can't seem to find a woman. I can't seem to find a girl. And the first thing I ask them is like, where are you looking? Are you looking in your basement? Are you going to bars? Are you looking at trash? Like, where are you looking, man? Like, what do you want in a woman? And just consider that there's 7.4 or 5 billion people in the world. So if you're looking within a 500-mile radius of yourself, you're really limiting. You're limiting yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. If there's any kids that just stay in their basement and expect to find love, like, man, I encourage you to get out there and explore your options. Go to a different country. I mean, shoot, American and Canadian accents, like, they exist, man. You might not think you have an accent, but they pick up on that in foreign countries and they like it, right? You could find a woman that'll honor you, someone that'll, create this new spawn with you. And to touch on that, even, it really delves deep into morality. We all share this objective morality, and that's one thing I commonly hear atheists deny, is that no, morality is, it's all social. It's all a social construct. And for me, I'm like, okay, hold on a sec. Like, was Hitler's morality good? I mean, he created a social system that had, a mass morality based around evolution, for that matter. A human totem pole saying that, Jews and blacks were at the bottom. We got to get rid of them. Like, that's not objective morality, for the simple fact that the entire world fought that war. Everybody knew it was wrong. So it's not a social construct. Your conscience is God-given, but it's society shaped. I'll give you that. It can be shaped in some pretty cruel ways. Yeah, morality issue. That's a big one for the atheists.
You want to cause an atheist to scratch their head on the concept of morality, take them on what I call the 3-step process of morality. Ask them if they would like to live like any of the creatures that they've heard of or observed in nature. At 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you, hell no. They don't want to be like an animal, because they'd be eating their young, they'd be killing shit and living pretty uncomfortably under those conditions. So they would totally disagree with the way animals live. Then ask them if they disagree with anything in politics or society or culture. 9 times out of 10, they've got 100 things they can list off immediately that they disagree with on the morality of society. They can see the corruption in it. And then you just follow up with this. So you're telling me that your morals are not based upon nature or society. They actually transcend them. So where does this foundation of morality come from? That's where the atheist at this point shits his pants.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That's a great way to do it.
Here's a question. Would you regard Hitler as a Christian or an atheist or something else?
I would say he was a devout evolutionist, atheist, regardless of what he claims. I mean, the Bible tells us clearly we know them by their fruit. The fruit that Hitler produced was sadistic, cruel, and absolutely disgusting. So that's where I'd stand with that.
From what I've seen from Hitler, I think he was a pagan, but implemented eugenics in his belief system.
Yeah, I would most definitely say that it's pagan on some degree. Possession is another thing that goes under the table all too often. You could walk down the street and the guy, walking normal next to you, he could be possessed for all you know.
All right,
Oh,
I
no,
got bad
what I meant-
news, folks. I got a lot of people in comments who are saying, Brett, where is Will Kincaid at? Why is he not in the room yet? From what I hear, apparently he just grew some extremely heavy-weighted ball sack on his own chin, and it's causing him to move very sluggishly and slow. So we may have to wait a moment before he actually comes in. True story. Go ahead,
He's
Dory.
he's in a Zoom call with someone. He's waxing his car. It'll be right there.
Like the news reporter, like the journalist that got himself in trouble recently.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. Actually, I gotta drain the main vein. But yeah, give me 5.
Understandable. Try not to evolve, Arnis. Oh boy. So how is everybody out there in comments? All those who are listening and watching, I hope you're having a blessed day. Hopefully you're not too offended by us destroying your worldview that you came from a damn rat monkey. So John, what are we doing next? You want to plug the games you love, tell people what they're going to find over there?
Yeah, we're looking for people to upload videos. If you want to join the Games You Love channel, hold on, let me see if I can get a picture up here. Brett got me on the big screen. He put me on the spot. We're uploading pretty much every day. We're doing all types of bigoted shit. Brett, are you planning on doing anything for Games You Love, or?
I am going to attempt it. I sure am. I would be more than happy, though, sometimes just to sit back and talk with you while you're playing your games.
Well, shit, I had a fucking hangout open last night for 3 fucking hours. I was waiting for you to come in. But
I know, but my dumb ass went running around in the fucking rain. I got myself a cold, and I took some NyQuil in order to solve the problem, or I wouldn't even be here tonight if I didn't. I apologize for that.
That's all right, no problem. Yeah, we're putting out some lot of bigoted shit, man. The Games You Love channel is really taking off. We're really loving it. People dig the channel. I recommend people go check out Games You Love, and it's me, Vaughn, Brett, and Will. And Will puts out Pokemon games. I've been putting out some Pokemon stuff. Yakuza is a really great game, Brett. I don't know if you ever played Yakuza, but that's a fascinating Japanese mafia game. You play as Japanese mafia, you kick ass. Vaughn puts out Left 4 Dead videos. I mean, we're rocking and rolling. Yeah, thank you for letting me promote that real quick. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your Judaism channel out there.
The Judaism is just 100% Torah study. So anyone who has any questions about the Bible, like any topic, suicide, depression, war, jihad, creation, evolution, I answer pretty much every question you can possibly ever think of from a Jewish source, from a Jewish point of view. 100% kosher, 100% awesomeness. And also we have a little bit of a Teespring store. So if you want to support the channel and buy a t-shirt, I really appreciate it. It's teespring.com/store/Gisela-Torah-24/7. Thank you for that.
I myself, I'm a big fan of coffee. Anybody wants to support me and get me a cup of coffee, links in the description to PayPal. Wait a second. Looks like we've got an ad from Will.
Hi, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank this video's sponsor, Pussy. You see that? See that shit right there? You like that shit? That's 30% off. Links in the description. This month, if you use the promo code WK2020. Thank you, and remember, supporting our sponsors helps support the channel. Keep it going and keep it growing. Thanks a lot. On with the fucking live stream. I'm not actually naked.
Shut up, bitch! Go fix me a turkey pot pie.
Very nice.
Dorgan, are you back with us?
I just got back to the end of it. I don't know what just happened.
Did you think that was funny, though, wasn't it? Oh, shit.
I mean, like I said, I caught the end of it. Breakfast Club.
I'm really disappointed. I was hoping we'd get like some kind of ignorant ass non-believer who'd start getting triggered and yell at us in here so I could give them this.
Fuck out of here and go to the
Mega gay zone. Who makes these? Do you make these yourself?
Some of them, but I also like looking around at memes on the internet. Some of it's really creative.
I would say 2020. They should be.
So what is some of you were saying that in the past when you got involved with games and stuff, you just kind of lost yourself. You became immersed in it. What were the 3 games that almost took your life from you and your existence?
Oh, geez. I think I've got like 2,400 hours on PUBG. I think I've got probably 1,500 hours on Ring of Elysium. Mostly first person. I mean, I did play Ark Survival a lot. Yeah. I've definitely wrapped Fallout 3 a few times. To be honest with you, a lot of it just kind of revolved around my own selfish means of gaining dopamine and just getting rushes. So I found that, first person shooters really did that for me. And then on top of it, I was addicted to drugs too. So that really didn't help my cause. Specifically marijuana. Yeah.
That's fair enough. What do you think whenever non-believers argue if there were to be a God, why would he have the issue with something like drugs for if it's considered natural? I myself, I do have a cigarette habit, but I try to stay away from all the other shit. I like to pay my bills. I don't want to put my home up for mortgage and shit like that. What's your thoughts?
When it comes to drugs and the Bible, this is a common one that I hear all the time. God made weed so I can smoke weed. God made it for me. And then, on top of that, I hear these just crazy amounts of people that just claim they have anxiety. Now, for me to say that they don't have anxiety and looking at the media in 2020 and 2019, yeah, I can understand how you'd have some level of anxiety that probably didn't exist, pre 1900s even. But at the same time, when you actually read the Bible and what it says about plants, the pagans use plants in all types of different ways. Whether you call it wizardry or sorcery, or look at the Greek word for pharmakia, these plants were used in a wrong way, in my opinion. So when you look at Genesis, for instance, it says, "Behold, every herb." I give you every herb bearing seed. Now, a lot of people will see that, but they won't read the next part that says it will be for meat. So you can eat it. It's good for you. And actually, there's really not a lot of plants out there that you can't eat in some way, shape, or form if you cook them in a certain way. So for me, especially, being a tried and true drug addict for 11 years, I was smoking weed every day. I was actually gaining a lot of speed on Instagram, kind of moving towards influencer for shatter, for concentrates, weed concentrates and stuff like that. So for me, I was trying to justify it until I really started to delve into the Bible and what God wants. These plants were never meant to be used the way that we use them. And I think that using them is a type of sorcery, a pharmakia, and it's imitating what the pagans did for an enlightened experience or a heightened experience of spiritual, whatever you want to call it. I just feel like you're kind of playing with fire at that point. Now, for me, it took a long time to understand that it was detrimental, because when you smoke weed, you get high and you feel good. Until I really dug into the science of it. Actually, that's the ironic part when I talk about meat. So for meat, that's an awesome picture, by the way. but for meat, the science says that you can literally eat a bud of weed and gain every positive effect from eating a bud of weed, but you will never get high from it. You'll never ever get high from it. You could eat an ounce or 2 ounces of weed and you'll never get high, but your body will react to it positively. So I'm not against, CBD oils or ingesting cannabinoids, as long as you don't cook them or smoke them and get high from them. It's a level of inebriation or intoxication. So the science behind it says you can get every single positive effect from eating the plant, except for getting high and burning out. Now, I understand as well that it's medicinal, and some cancer patients, leukemia, don't have an appetite, and they use it for medicinal purposes. I'm not against that. I'm not against it at all. I mean, even the Bible says, use a little wine and water for your stomach problems. That's fine. But for everybody to sit there and claim, I have anxiety, and pushing towards regulation and legalization of this plant, you can see the detrimental aspects of it, not only from your bank account's perspective, how much money you spend on it, how much time you spend on it, and how much you neglect your family when you're, blasted or really baked. But yeah, the whole concept of it is kind of a joke to me. So that's my opinion on drugs. And I'm kind of a seasoned veteran too. I'm pretty sure the only thing I haven't done is like crack.
Well, whether a person is an atheist or they're religious, whether they believe God created all this nature or they believe that somehow nature created itself, the fact is that whatever movie you're going with, there's also naturally sharks that exist in the world, and lions and stingrays and all kinds of venomous ass plants out there that exist. That doesn't mean we're going to go and say, oh, because it's natural, let's go ahead and jump into a big pile of pissed off rabid gorillas. Am I right?
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah. Same goes for plants. You know what I mean? So why even try heroin? Why do it that way? Why inject it in your veins? Like, that's just, it's crazy, unnatural.
Let's try something real quick. Have you heard of astral projection and out-of-body experiences? I obviously have. If anybody hasn't, they've been living under an unevolved rock. But you've heard of it, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Well, I was going to throw something out there. I mean, since we're talking about drugs, and I'm also going to throw something really interesting out there to think about. But you've heard of DMT and the chemicals that are released into the brain when someone is dying. They have kind of a euphoria effect. Atheists claim that one of the reasons why people claim to see angels or spirits or light at the end of the tunnel is because of this chemical release, this I guess dopamine, however you want to go with it, and that's why they see things. But I've got a question about all that I think you might find fascinating. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, more than you would know, actually. I've done DMT, so very aware.
Okay, let me ask you something, Dorf, and I think this is going to cause a lot of people to go, wow, didn't even think about that. Does nature know whenever you're born or when you suffer, when your birthday is? Have you ever gotten a Christmas card from nature before? Does nature know when you're going to die?
No, never.
So we're at an evolution or any of this nonsense that nature come up with the concept of, oh, I'm going to allow you to die peacefully. That sounds more like something a loving father would prefer for their child if they knew that death was a part of the transition. Wouldn't you, as a father, if you had to die, or your children or those you loved, if they do have to die, wouldn't it be good for them to go peacefully, blissfully? Nature doesn't know anything about emotions or feelings, doesn't even understand the concept of euphoria. So for me, I believe that there's a point to it when people say that they have out-of-body experiences. I think there's something to it.
Yeah, I would agree on some level. Absolutely, there is an amount of DMT that is released when you die. Now people die really quickly, and people die in horrible ways as well. For me, I'm not scared of death necessarily. I'm scared of how I will die. Am I going to get impaled by a piece of rebar that flies off a truck? Am I going to fall off a cliff and just kind of suffer down there for 10 hours until I bleed out or something like that? But the interesting thing is, like, when it comes to DMT, I see people misuse this constantly. Now, if you look at the science behind what happens to a person when they're clinically pronounced dead, so 40 seconds after your heart stops, your brain activity stops, and they can prove this with machines. There are no releases, there are no synapses, but yet you have something very, very different than a DMT effect, I guess you could say, because DMT trips are not all the same for everybody. You can have similar but not identical experiences. So when it gets into near-death experiences, which I actually look into quite often, there's a PhD in the States named Gary Habermas that does a really, really good work, kind of sifting through near-death experiences proclaimed by secular and non-secular doctors, agnostics and believers. You'll hear these stories from all different types of ER situations or critical care situations. When a person dies and is resuscitated after, a period of time, 10 to 20 minutes, even longer sometimes when they're resuscitated, they explain an experience which is consciousness outside of the body. Now, that is peculiar because consciousness is a lot different than a DMT trip. And I can tell you, because I have experience with DMT, you are not in control of anything. You can't really think clearly or logically. In fact, whatever you're seeing, most of the time you don't even want to see it. And that's a heightened level of paranoia that you'll reach. DMT is very scary. So it's not comparable to the outer body experience that people talk about when they say I was conscious outside of my body. When you've got instances of people recording or playing back, word for word, exactly what was said in the room, exactly the procedure that they were doing to try to resuscitate this person, all the way up to look, there's a tennis shoe on top of this hospital, and I know because I was floating above it, so go up there and look, and sure enough, there's a tennis shoe. Or when you talk about people with OCD memorizing numbers on the top of medical instruments that are near the roof, they're saying, I was floating above my body and I saw this riveted number on top of this medical instrument, and I could tell you letter for letter, word by word, or number by number exactly what that says. And none of you would know it. And the only way that I could know it is if I was indeed conscious outside of my body, floating above my body. So when it comes to DMT and near-death experiences, you've got a very clear dividing line. I've smoked DMT in circles with lots of friends, and we've all had incredibly different experiences. So different that, you can't even speak the words to try to explain it. And then you've got near-death experiences, which are completely different. These people are coherent and conscious, coming back to life, saying, look, I could tell you exactly what happened in this room. In fact, I floated to the room next to me, and I could tell you what was going on in there as well. So I find that really interesting, and it leans on the side of empirical evidence at this point. In the last 15 to 20 years, we have 30 million cases in North America and the UK alone of people explaining consciousness outside of their body, regardless of their worldview, I might add. So you're not necessarily going to see angels. You're not going to go straight to God or straight to hell, even though some people do. Most of the experiences that are recorded and written down are just people experiencing consciousness outside of their body, explaining that they feel realer than reality. It feels more real than reality to be conscious outside of your body. Pretty interesting stuff.
But why would the chemical exist? How could evolution or mutations or gradual change over time describe how it's possible for nature to put this element in you that releases chemicals that brings a more euphoria to your death process? I mean, nature doesn't know anything about death. Nature itself is not sentient. It only makes sense if there was a God who wanted you to be able to go more mercifully. Not saying that you're going to be without complete suffering, but doesn't it seem like if there was a developer or a programmer who created us and knew that one of the parts of our existence and our purpose was that one day we would die, it makes sense that if they cared about us, they would make sure that we die in a peaceful manner, or at least in a more comfortable way. That's not something that sounds like it could be explained in some natural sense. Do you follow where I'm getting with this?
Oh, yeah, and I completely agree. The fact that DMT does exist as a drug that is released into your brain and your body before you die it absolutely transcends that of nature into something loving. Absolutely. I mean, let's look at it from a design perspective. We were designed as loving creatures. It's why we don't make video game controllers with spikes in them that stab us every time we die. It's kind of it's a peaceful way to die on screen. I just lost my life, I restart the game. Pretty simple, right? And I think that a loving creator would do the same thing.
I agree with you there. Now, how do you explain this, Mr. Dorganfly? You're right that there's over 35 million cases of people all over the world who have had these strange experiences while they're either presumed officially dead or they're in some kind of unconscious state or whatever the case might be. But how do you explain, like, for instance, there's a super popular atheist that everybody used to enjoy listening to a while back. Apparently, he went out fishing in the ocean, some water source where nobody could get to him, and he ends up falling overboard, getting stung by a bunch of stingrays and jellyfish or some shit like this. The guy claims that while when he somehow somebody managed to find him. I don't remember the full story of how he got into the hospital, but while he's laying there and they are claiming that he's dead, he said that he actually seen some manifestation of hell. Why would an atheist who doesn't think twice about the concept of God or religion, why would they see Jesus or see hell if it weren't a reality?
Well, and that's a very good point, right? And you do have a number of cases where an atheist or even an agnostic will experience some type of hell, and it's really hard for them to explain it, especially coming back to reality. You've got instances where they're like, look, I know I'm going to lose friends. I know I'm going to probably lose my job. I'm going to lose a lot of accreditation, for claiming this new worldview that I'm about to claim. But I'm telling you guys, I know what I saw. It was realer than reality, and I don't want to go back there. So for me, it's actually ironic. I mean, I've even heard people start to argue from another perspective too, which was you've got someone from like a Muslim culture per se that experiences, they say they saw Muhammad, right? But when you really start to line up the statistics and the evidences, you see that not everybody sees that. In fact, in 2019, I saw a record-breaking high for Muslims that were praying to God, the God of the universe, not Allah, not Muhammad, but they were actually sincerely praying before they go to bed to God, and they're having these lucid, very, very vivid dreams of Jesus himself. So it's quite interesting when you talk about an atheist that experiences some type of hell, because I truly do believe that changes their perspective and ultimately will change their choice, given they have a chance to choose before they die again, if it's not sudden.
That's a good point. Well, do you believe that I've been fair, Dorgan? Have I not repeatedly left this room open for anybody and everybody to come in if they wanted to debunk us or refute us or argue their own opposing views? Do you feel like I've been fair on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I would do it with gentleness too. If somebody wanted to come in here and actually have a logical discussion, not a screaming match. But if you want to talk about, what's rational and what's logical, and go through a deduction, I would be more than happy. But you've been more than courteous to the audience out there thus far, for sure.
If there is any non-believers out there who see this video later on, whenever it becomes a recorded broadcast, if you want to try to answer the questions in the video, that is fine. If you do take the video, I would suggest that you do not do personal ad homs. There's no reason for that. Nobody's insulting you in any kind of way. And number two, I ask, and this is very important, that you put my link as well as the other users that have been participating in it, links to their YouTube channel so people know where the original work has been created and content. Mr. Dorganfly, do you have a YouTube channel?
Thus far, I do not, actually. I've been stocking up some recordings, possibly about to make one in the future, but nope, not as yet. Not as of yet.
So, Mr. Dorgan, if I run into someone and I am truly convinced that they have a good voice and are extremely articulate, I always encourage them not only to use YouTube, but alternative video sites. You, my friend, you're intelligent, you're articulate, you've got an excellent voice, especially for a podcast. You may want to consider not only just making videos about your views on religion, but also to be able to archive your experiences with your new baby and stuff, what it's like for you nowadays as opposed to what it was like before having a baby and all this and the things you've learned. I think that you could share a lot of beautiful things. And with the knowledge that you have, you might be able to allow God to use you as an instrument to bring people to the faith. Just saying.
Yeah, and you know what? I completely appreciate what you're saying, and I'll take it into very deep consideration, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you for that. It's not the first time that I've been told I have a good voice and I'm articulate with this stuff. It's because literally it's become all I care about. And I think a lot of that, has to do with dropping video games and weed. I had questions that needed to be answered, and unless I was willing to drop everything and go look for them, I could never actually answer them. So I do appreciate what you're saying, and I certainly will. I can't even say it's a possibility at this point. I'm definitely going to start doing some of that stuff. So yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely.
My suggestion for you, so you don't have to spend any kind of money whatsoever, is to get OBS. That is absolutely free. You can record on the move. That means if you have 10 minutes worth of dialogue you want to say, that's how long it's going to take you to record, because you're literally recording in real time. That's what I do on my videos. If I want to speak for 20 minutes, that's how long it takes, and it compresses it so small that it literally takes less than 5 minutes to upload a 30-minute video. So that might be useful for you. It won't take up your day. You'll still be able to change diapers, feed the baby, put your words out there, come back and see all your loving fans and supporters. And at the same time, you'll get a bunch of rabid gorillas foaming at the mouth, wanting to rip your head off just simply for thinking differently than them.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. I look forward to it. The Bible says that we're salt. And unless you're irritating someone's wounds, I don't think you're doing your job. So absolutely. And salt also preserves as well. So I'll take all of that into serious not even consideration. I'll do it all. In fact, I have OBS. I just haven't used it much. Like I say, I do have some recordings that have been archived. I just haven't uploaded them yet. So I really got to put the money down and start doing that stuff. So yeah. In the future, that's going to be a Dorgon will have a channel. Yeah.
Mr. Dorganfly, do you at least have an account so you're able to subscribe to channels?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's Dorgon Space Reborn. Pretty simple. But I am subscribed to this channel as well as many others, apologetics specifically. But yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to put a link out there for folks. If you subscribe and hit reminder, you're going to see broadcast, and you can participate at any time in the future if you guys want to come in. Dorganfly, I got to admit, I'm a little disappointed about something. Not at you, not at the folks that came in here, but I talked to over, I'd say, 25 Christians on Discord. Some of them actually friends I've known for a long time, who all said they were excited about being a part of this podcast. And as you can see, they literally did not show up. And you were there when I was talking to some of them.
Oh, yeah, fair enough, man. I tend to be a man of my word, and I do get excited about this stuff as a more or less a baby apologist, I guess you could say. I'm trying to really test myself, push my limits and see what I'm capable of online. It's when I first started doing this, I was really nervous when I would have recorded conversations. I've done a couple podcasts on different servers on Discord, but I consider this experience and a great experience nonetheless. So yeah, I agree with you. A lot of people they'll throw down in Discord, but when it comes to a recorded session or something streamed on YouTube, they tend to run away a little bit, or they make excuses. And yeah, I think it's necessary this day and age to do some level of apologetics, especially when bringing people to the faith. I mean, after all, it's 2020. We all have the internet and these crazy little computers at our fingertips, and we can research both sides, or we can get overtaken by certain biases as well. So we have to be careful. Yeah.
Looks like we got somebody in here by the name of Xanakin Bannikin. What's up, Xanakin?
Yo, Brett, where you been?
Well, I've been, before I left YouTube a long time ago, I did announce to everybody at least 100 times, perhaps not enough, that I'd be using alternative video sites and building communities over on BitChute, BitTube, as well as Minds.com. All links are in the description in case people didn't hear it the first millionth time. But that's what I've been doing. I recently came back to YouTube to start up podcasts again. They were very popular back in the day. Got tons and tons of people and stuff. As people know, I'm in a rebuilding process. But I'm getting subs pretty quick, getting viewers and all that. A lot of people are learning about God. Mr. Dorganfly, I hope that whenever I open up more podcasts, you continue to be a permanent member. Like I'm not due-doo an army whenever I say that you've got a great voice, you've got a good presence and charisma.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I'll be here for sure. Yeah, consider me part of the crew, and I'll try to do some more voiceovers this summer. The Boogeyman's channel. Dorgon is fly. Debates every evolutionist on YouTube and proves them all wrong in 10 minutes.
Brett Keane, the designed character, versus the rat monkeys. Yes, yes.
You got a deadly voice too, man.
Xanakin, do you got something for us? I seen you down in comments saying things about that you believe in evolution. Is that true, or are you just pulling our leg?
Oh, I believe in evolution, but I'm not anywhere near an expert on the subject.
Can you
Sure.
explain to us why you believe in evolution for?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I learned it a really long time ago. When I was watching, well, recently, not that recently, I don't know how old the show is, but they rebooted Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson or whatever, and like one of the first episodes was basically breaking down how evolution works over like a large amount of time, and it seemed pretty convincing to me.
I hope you like Donald Trump, because it looks like he just stood in front of you and gave us a thumbs up. Well, can you do me a favor? Can you and Mr. Dorgan talk back and forth for a moment about your views on evolution? I will be right back in a second. I believe I've talked to you in the past, Anakin, and you've never given me any reason whatsoever to not trust you. So I think that you two can handle my room while I'm away. Is that possible? You're still a good person, right?
Yeah, I haven't really changed.
Amen. I'll be right back.
What's up? Dragon is fly.
Dorgon is fly. Yeah, people always mess up. It's an awesome name. I love it for that reason. No, but it's interesting what you said. Like, I'll admit, like I was taught evolution a long time ago, especially in school. That's what you hear from your biology teachers and stuff like that. Yeah, no worries. And I've seen a little bit of Neil deGrasse Tyson as well. What I'm interested in is the truth. So it's not that I'm against science. I'm just against, lies. So when somebody, spits to me that something is a fact, but in all reality, it's a theory, even if it's a scientific theory, I try to look at all sides of the problem. And when I really delved into evolution, as I would encourage you to do as well, look at the problems with evolution and try to make a rational and logical deduction of why we're here. Where are we going? Are we going somewhere? What's the meaning to life? Is there no meaning? Why do we share this common love, among humanity? Even though some people break that, there's plenty of serial killers and disgusting people out there. But I encourage you, look into it deeper for sure, because at the end of the day, like, I got to be real. We're going to put our money behind something. So before you die, you might believe, there's no such thing as God. God didn't do anything for me. That's all hocus pocus. But in all reality, you're kind of putting all of your money behind some guy in a lab coat that's saying, look, like your life is hopeless. You're just a bunch of molecules in motion, and there's no such thing as a purpose for your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't view it that way, but I'm sure a lot of people who are atheists or whatever do. I'm not really one of them. I'm like optimistic nihilist.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's do a hypothetical. You like hypotheticals?
I suppose. I mean, some are better than others.
Sure. Let's pretend for a second that God exists. You with me? Okay. So we're pretending that God exists. Heaven and hell are real. Are you a good enough person to go to heaven?
Oh man, I don't know. It feels to me like it really depends on what denomination or what religion you're talking about. Some have different standards.
I mean, okay, yeah, sure. Let's go with the God of the Bible specifically. Do you think you'd be a good enough person to go to heaven by the God of the Bible standards?
No, I think think that if you're going by biblical standards, that they're too rigid for most people to conform to perfectly.
Well, dude, and that's an extremely humble answer for sure. And keep in mind, this is a big reason why people absolutely they hate the God of the Bible. That's a very real thing. So
Well, I don't really hate the God of the Bible because I don't actually believe in the God of the Bible, but I mean,
sure.
I suppose that if he did exist, I would resent him, but I don't know. I don't know. If there was a God and he created me, I would not hate him, but that doesn't mean I would agree with him.
Yeah, sure. And we all have questions, I'm sure, for God eventually. I mean, we've all got problems. You know, let's look at the laws that he laid down, right? So, simple question: how many lies do you think you've told in your entire existence? I've told probably tens of thousands.
I lie all the time. I don't necessarily lie about big things, but like when I'm talking to strangers or whatever, I make up things a lot of the time, just
Sure.
even to make a conversation more interesting online.
Yeah, and I would be a liar to say that I haven't been there, man. Everybody lies. That's the funny part.
The way that I do it is kind of like a role playing thing, you know. I mean, like if playing pretend is lying, then yeah, I guess I do that all the time.
Well, yeah, there's kind of like no in between, you know, with lying and truth. Either you lied about it or you told the truth, right? And that, yeah, there's no like middle ground. But anyway.
in my personal relationships, I value honesty probably above anything else. Second would be communication, you know.
Yeah, and I totally respect that, man. Absolutely. If everybody lived that way, I tell you what. So next question: have you ever taken something that wasn't yours, even if it was little?
Yeah. It's been a really long time since I've done that, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to take money off my mom's dresser all the time. I used to steal her cigarettes.
Dude, I did this. I actually did a pretty horrible thing once. Like, this was like the last time I stole anything, actually. And I was probably about 15 years old. And I had a friend who lived down the street, and he had a Nintendo DS Lite, you know, like when they first came out.
No, yeah.
And he just kept bragging about it, and like, you know, like dangling it in my face, kind of like being, I don't know, what's the word for it? You know, like when somebody's just showing off their stuff to make you feel bad.
Yeah, he's being a dick. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I took it because I was like, hey, you know, F this guy. He's being a dick to me, and why should he get it? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I was rationalizing stealing it in my mind. And he knew I took it. He and my mother confronted me about it. She's like, "Did you take it?" I'm like, "No, of course I didn't take it." And because I was too afraid to like own up to what I did, I took it and I threw it in the swamp behind my house. And I just felt so horrible about it that I never stole anything from anybody again.
Well, no, fair enough, man. You know, guilt and the fear of guilt is actually a pretty interesting thing. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So I asked you if you lied. You said yes. Probably countless lies, just like me, right? I asked you if you stolen something. You said yes, right? So even just let's just go with those two. You know, the 10 commandments that God gave in the Bible. We would both have broken those commandments, right? We're lawbreakers essentially, right?
What is this?
This is Biden and someone. I'm Canadian, so I don't know all the politicians.
Probably Jill. I don't know.
That's his wife.
Okay.
That's his wife.
Okay.
He appears to be hungry for Oreo cookies and
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Thumbs
what
up.
are these things? Why do they keep popping up? Or are they just like? Anyway,
It's like memes, internet
it's a little
memes.
distracting. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'll just try not to focus on that. What were you saying?
Well, yeah, I was saying, like, you know, by God's standard, like both me and you would you know, we're lawbreakers, right? So if we stood before God, you know, let's say we died and we're standing before him, he's about to like judge us. Would he find us innocent or guilty?
Oh man, I don't know. And like, I was raised in, well, not Catholic school, because I went to public school, but I went to like catechism and all that. So,
Okay.
I mean, in like the Roman Catholic faith, confession and repentance is literally the only way to pass the threshold into heaven. So like, it really doesn't even matter what you do or what you've done. It's just like faith is like all
Yeah,
you
well,
really need.
and this is a kind of an interesting heresy. Like I study religion quite a bit, but when it comes to Catholicism, they do things a little bit different than what the Bible says. In fact, they would do it on a heretical level. So let's say we're standing before a judge, right, and we broke the law. If we go to the judge and we're like, yo, judge, like, we know we broke the law. Like me and Zanakin, we messed up, we did some stuff, but look, we're sorry, right? So we've confessed and we've repented.
There's
And
that
we're
Canadian accent. I just heard it.
it's there, yeah. New dude about it, eh?
Anyway, go on.
But yeah, so we're gonna stand before the judge and we're gonna say, look, like, we know we screwed up. So, we're confessing, and then on top of that, we're repenting. We're saying, look, we're not going to do it ever again. Do you think that the judge, in a court of law on earth, do you think the judge would let us go?
I mean, I don't exactly know how the American law system works. I know that American judges have like a bit of discretion. To
Sure.
give, like,
Mercy. Yeah, yeah.
sentences and stuff. So it depends on the crime, and it depends on your circumstances, your level of repeat offenses, all that. So maybe it's possible. It's not likely.
I mean, yeah, no, judges can absolutely, they can provide some form of mercy, right? Depending on how they feel, for sure. So let's say we robbed a bank and we shot a guy. Both of us, we both put a bullet in him, right?
Probably no. Yeah, you're probably gonna.
Yeah. The judge is like, whoa, this doesn't cover this, right? You might have confessed and said you're sorry, and you might never do it again. But as a judge, he's got to do justice, right? He can't just let us go. So here's the interesting concept. What if, okay, what if there was a number on our fines? Let's say it would cost $7.5 million to have this absolved. This, rob a bank and shot a guy, basically. Probably more money than either of us would ever have in our entire lifetime. Let's say that somebody walked into the courtroom and paid that fine for us. Now, here's the interesting thing. The judge could let us go even though we were guilty because somebody has paid the fine that we couldn't pay.
Yeah,
correct?
I see the analogy you're making for Jesus.
Yeah. And it's really simple, and a lot of people don't. I don't know why they stray from it, but it's the simple message of the gospel is me and you have broken God's law, and we're talking about a holy, perfect Creator, right? Like, he sees sin as disgusting, right? But if we believe that God paid that fine through Jesus, if we believe that Jesus paid our fine for sin, then we're forgiven. We're absolved of it, right? The fine has been paid.
Yeah. Can I go off on like an
please do.
explanation of why it doesn't exactly make sense to me?
Sure.
Well, God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit are like a trinity made up of one being, right? Like Jesus is God.
It's one essence, but three separate persons. But yes, they are one. Yes.
Right. But like, I don't exactly understand. I mean, first of all, God makes the rules, so I don't know why he couldn't just forgive people of their original sin without sacrificing Jesus. But since Jesus is already him anyway, how does it make sense to sacrifice yourself to yourself for the absolution of sins? Like it. See,
well,
like,
you're touching on something very beautiful. No, well, you're touching on something beautiful, and it's called grace, right? So if you do something wrong, and instead of giving you a spanking, I just say, yeah, you know what, don't do it again. I'm going to show you mercy this time. I'm not going to give you a spanking. But if you do something wrong, the same thing, and I take you out, let's say for an ice cream sundae, right? You don't deserve the ice cream sundae, but as a loving father, I would do that for you anyway. So
yeah, I have 3 kids, so I understand that.
well, there you go, right? It's a gift of grace, and it's actually something that you can't work for. It's beautiful in itself because it's a fine that we can't pay.
It's a bit of a interesting concept. It would be like if my son acts up at school, and instead of punishing him, I punish myself. Which I mean, I don't even know why I would. It might work. I never thought about it, but
Well, and sure, right? Like, well,
I mean,
think of the guilt.
wouldn't you say that our failures are God's failures?
Not so much God's failures, because we as humans have free will. So in order to love something, love has to be freely given by definition. So for me,
I wanna say one thing real quick, because
Sure.
like I know that these conversations can get contentious, and like I don't want anybody to think that I disrespect any believers. I just simply don't agree. Like I just want to say that out front, because like it can get kind of vicious.
Oh, yeah.
If people think you're mocking them or whatever.
oh sure, don't just pretend like no one else is here, man. This is a conversation between two brothers in humanity. You're a human, I'm a human. Let's talk, right? And don't even pay attention to chat. Like if somebody's egging you on, don't even worry about it, because I'm not taking any animosity from you whatsoever. Believe me, and I'm not trying to deliver any either. Yeah, for.
I don't feel
But back to
I've definitely talked to some people on these where people were pretty vicious.
Oh,
I
sure.
can't remember. I was on Brett's stream like forever ago, and there was this flat Earth guy, and he was really tearing into anybody. But
Well,
whatever. Yeah. Some people have different debate styles. I don't take it personally. It's not like they know me.
Yeah, well, and it's a type of it's kind of a bit of hypocrisy, when you see a Christian or anyone from any worldview, that preaches some kind of grace or love and peace, when they look down their nose at you and just outrightly judge you for any reason. So for me, I try to look at people as brothers. Like we're humans. Like I say, we're just humans and talking. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I derive a lot of my morality from my upbringing, and because my upbringing was my grandparents who were really devout Catholics, obviously my values sync up quite a bit to Christian teachings, even though I'm not one. So that's interesting.
Yeah, no, and definitely. And I'm under the impression, at least from what I see in the world, your conscience exists from day one. I believe it's God given. I believe that God gives you that free thinking ability. Well, and it's tricky.
When you watch children interact or whatever, they're incredibly self-centered. I mean,
yes.
like they develop empathy and love for other people over time. They're not born with it. I mean.
Well, and that's interesting that you would mention that, because the Bible specifically mentions that we love the dark rather than light. That's our nature as fallen humans, fall into sin. You'll see a little kid run up and take someone else's toy, but you have to teach him that sharing is better. And until that little kid realizes, like, wow, I feel really good when I share my things, when I see someone smile, I would rather share that thing rather than take it. It's something we have to teach for sure. And that's why I say, it is God given. It's a fallen nature, but it's society shaped. So given that you were raised by Catholics and you grew up with that morality, right? I can see that morality reflecting through you for sure.
I mean, I've known a lot of very good natured non-believers like myself, though. I mean, that weren't even raised Catholic. Like they're just. So I mean, have you ever heard of the social contract? I'm sure you have if you're doing this sort of thing.
The tribalism set up.
What?
But what you said? Social construct?
Contract, like the social contract.
Basically, it's like tribes working with each other in order to benefit the tribe type of concept. I've heard this before, Xanakin, but The issue is we can see historically that mankind, because he's set towards the concept of the dark, he is more than willing to kill and destroy and steal if he feels that he can get away with it. That's one of the things I talk to non-believers about morality. Like, for instance, if I were to ask you right now, would you be tempted to kill a little old woman if you would never be held accountable about it, if you could get $1 billion out of her?
I mean,
Why do you think that is? That's the important
well,
part. Why do you?
I think because when I look at a little old woman, I mean, I see like people that I know. I mean, plus it's not really like my right to take somebody else's life. Like, I mean, I don't feel like I only do good things because I'm afraid of consequences. I do good things because I want to feel like I'm a good person.
But why does it matter? All the people out there that you may identify with, relate with, or care about, or even feel that you benefit from, they're all pretty much dead in this universe without the concept of God. Why bother? It's not even going to be, your accomplishments will be destroyed when the universe dies. Why would you care?
Well, like I'm an optimistic nihilist. Like I don't believe that, cosmically speaking, like on the grand universe scale of things, that my life or anybody's life that I know matters to the universe. But I derive meaning out of my own life because I am alive, and I certainly wouldn't want anybody doing horrible things to me. And why would I want to go around doing horrible things to other people, making the world a worse place to live in?
Dorgan, I'll tell you what, no matter what this Anakin tries to say to us, I've talked to him enough to realize that he's got God working inside of his heart. This man is a genuine good person. And I bet if I were to ask you right now, Anakin, whenever you're faced, when you're at a crosswalk in your life between doing something bad or good, you've got a powerful voice inside you that says, don't do that. Do the right thing every time. Am I right?
Yeah, but I don't know if you were here for the beginning of this conversation, but I actually told Daganus Fly that like well, like I told him a story about like taking something from somebody and destroying it out of spite. And having done that to somebody made me feel like a bad person, and so I never did that thing again.
This is interesting. I want to touch on this quickly because the
I
guilt
just want to make the
that
point
you
that
experience.
I just want to make the point that I was not born a good person. I became a good person over time. When I was in high school, I was a vicious bully, like rhetorically, not physically. I didn't beat people up, but I would mock people and be a jerk, like like
me
the
too,
drunken
man.
peasants get on their thing and they like, I know you guys don't like them, so I'm using them as an example, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
I used to be catty and superior or whatever, and then I realized, just because I disagree with somebody, or I might even downright think that they're not smart, I don't think that makes me superior to them in any way.
Well, and here's the interesting concept that I wanted to touch on, because you destroying that, Nintendo DS or whatever it was out of spite, and then instantly feeling guilt, but then the fear of feeling that guilt again keeps you away from doing it. This is very interesting because this is essentially what I try to do to people, or what I try to talk about to get their gears turning, I guess you could say. So let's say you were standing on the edge of a cliff and you got a 200-foot drop in front of you, your toes are over the edge, and it's certain death. The rocks start to crumble beneath your feet. Is that fear good or bad?
It's good. It's a natural instinct to survive.
That's right. The fear is telling you to step back from the ledge. It's telling you that your life's in danger. So essentially what I try to do with people is I try to hang their toes over the edge of eternity just for a second, so that fear will do its work and they'll preserve their life. And that's what I mean when I say, well, everybody's afraid of death. I don't think I've met one person.
I am, like, in kind of a really weird way. What's interesting about death is nobody wants to talk about the damn thing. But everybody's thinking about it, like, I'm sure almost all the time. I don't know how often you think about it. In my case, I think about it pretty much all the time. But
Oh, sure.
some days it's scarier than other days. You know, sometimes I'm pretty accepting about it, and then other days I'm like, oh my god, dude, like one day, oh, my whole life is just gonna be gone. But you know, I
Well,
mean,
and yeah, that's a heavy concept, right? Because your funeral will be the most important day of your life. You're going to be dead a lot longer than you've been alive. I mean, look at Abraham Lincoln. Look at Caesar. You know, these people have been dead for a long time. You're going to be dead for a long time. So what I've done actually,
with you, I suppose.
well, you can believe that if you want. See, I see evidence for the contrary. I see evidence for the contrary, and I think I could convince you of it, given you would look into a couple studies. There's a guy, and I want you to remember this name.
Really long time.
Well,
Willing to listen.
When it comes to science, science can't tell you anything about metaphysical reality because it can't be part of science at that point. It's a metaphysic.
Right. Yeah.
So you would have to rely based solely on empirical evidence, which is experience-based evidence from individuals. So as I was talking with Brett here earlier about near-death experiences. Now, if you've got 35 million people in the last 20 years, saying, look, I was conscious outside of my body. It was realer than reality. And you've got 35 million people, regardless of their worldview or what they believe. They're all explaining this. Now, to me, empirical evidence trumps zero evidence or trumps a subjective opinion. You know, I can believe that the ocean is made of jello. It doesn't mean that it's made of jello. I might never have been to the ocean. But just, me believing that death doesn't, there is no consciousness after death, it has no bearing on the truth. So this is an interesting concept, right? Because you've got 35 million people that have all talked about my consciousness existing outside of my body. So for me, I'm not scared of death anymore. Not just because of my rational belief in a loving, powerful, moral, timeless, spaceless, immaterial God, but also because there is evidence, empirical evidence for your existence outside of your body. So I'm not necessarily scared of death anymore. I'm scared of how I'm going to die. And then on top of that, I'm scared of, okay, am I following the right worldview? Am I following the most rational one, the most logical one, the most experientially relevant one? It has to be all of these things in order for me to put my money behind, right? And I think a lot of people waste a little bit too much time in their life distracted by other things rather than looking into the deeper concepts that might convince them otherwise. And I often ask that to people, what would convince you that God exists? What would convince you that an afterlife exists? Because for me, 35 million people, regardless of worldview, all telling me that my consciousness exists outside of my body. Sure, that doesn't get you to a God, but it definitely gets you to a type of afterlife, if you will. And then you would go on the logical deduction rabbit trail of what God is the true God.
Well,
Mr. Dorgan, when you decide that you're going to make videos, I think your first topic should be about fear, second video about death, third video afterlife, and some of the other viewpoints you did. Try to handle one subject at a time whenever you're hitting it. I think you're really good at this, by the way. Go ahead there, Anakin.
Thanks,
what do you got for us?
Yeah, I mean, I should clarify that, I don't outright reject the idea that God could exist. I just, I guess my standard of evidence to believe that God exists is just really high. Higher than believers, obviously, because I would be if it wasn't. And that's not like me changing my mind. Like, I've held that consistent belief for a long time. I'm not like an outright atheist like some people are.
Sure. And that's, dude, I'll be straight with you, man. I appreciate a healthy skeptic, because healthy skepticism keeps us away from believing in the flying spaghetti monster. Healthy skepticism.
I don't know how you feel about flat Earth.
Flat Earth is absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. Yeah. As a Bible-believing Christian, there is no biblical verse you could bring up to show me that the Earth is flat. I understand the implications that these people import on verses, but flat Earth is ridiculous. Ocean travel, view of the cosmos, every other spherical thing you can see, spinning in space with a telescope you get from Walmart, completely debunked.
I mean, just making a quick point about it. One of the things that I use as an example of flat Earth being difficult to comprehend is when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. If we lived on a flat Earth, they would have had to go all the way around the other way
Oh
to
yeah,
get to Hawaii.
long trip, long trip. Yeah, that's a good
And
one.
they wouldn't have been able to do that back then. So, I mean, that to me is like, that's simple for everybody to understand. Because, like, their arguments can be convincing if you don't, like, know anything about, I don't know.
About science or travel.
Yeah.
And that's what I see is that they're literally convincing people. It's becoming its own little cult. To be honest, I've been in debates on Discord and podcasts with like 200 of these kids at once. It's absolutely ridiculous, and they all believe in the same things, right? So when it comes to flat Earth, honestly, there's hundreds of different ways. I'm sure you could logically be like, this is, I'm sorry, but for lack of a better term, this is retarded. You guys literally believe in something retarded. So
well,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I feel that way about
Hold
it.
on
but,
one second. Mr. Wilkin K, do you know who JC is? And I'm not talking about Jesus Christ. If somebody wants to come in the room.
JC. No, not unless it's somebody using a different name. No.
Let me put up something so we can put this person on the screen. Without, unfortunately, I've had a couple non-believers came in. I tried putting them up, had to throw up the overlay. They tried to whip out their wee-wees. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I don't recognize the icon either.
Okay, so Mr. JC or Mrs. JC, how are you doing today?
Yo, what's up, everyone? How you guys doing today?
Are you a theist or a non-believer or pagan? What's your deal?
I would be a probably a agnostic, I guess.
All right, so you believe it's impossible to know the truth?
I think so, yes.
Okay, how do you know it's impossible?
I just think if it was possible to know, then I would know.
Okay, fair enough. Well, welcome to the room. I'm glad that you've come with us. In about 30 minutes, we're going to be shutting down, but I do podcasts all through the week, as does Will Kincaid, very sexy son of the bits, that man. And you are welcome to come in at any time. All right, go ahead, guys. I'm going to go have a smoke, and I need my lethal injection of nicotine. Be right back.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking about moving my podcast this week because the stupid fucking presidential debates are on. I usually do mine on Thursdays at 8:30, but the cocksuckers decided to do it on the same goddamn day. I gotta call up Trump. I gotta tell him to stop being a prick and scheduling this shit on top of my shit. At least it's the last one. And Xanakin, do you remember me? We haven't talked since Brett shut his channel down, probably like 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, all right. Very good. Oh, fuck. Yeah, man, I was supposed to be in much earlier, but unfortunately I was stuck working the hospital last night, so it kicked my ass. I ended up sleeping pretty much all day.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was just saying to Dave Bagan, I know that like sometimes people's beliefs can be silly, but you gotta try to figure out how they got there in the first place. I mean, you can't stop people from believing things if they truly hold those beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't give a shit what anybody believes as long as it's not violating anyone's rights in an egregious sort of way.
Right, yeah. I would agree with that.
I mean, like, Von Helton believes he's a fucking wizard and he put a goddamn wall of magic up against the southern border to keep all the illegals out. Is that, is that silly? Yeah, it's silly. But does it actually...
Who is Von Helton?
Oh God, we only have 30 minutes. I don't. He is a regular on my show. There literally, if you type in Von Helton, you'll get like probably 1.5 million videos.
Too long didn't read. He's a guy with some pretty outrageous beliefs that lives in what is it? Kentucky. It's either Kentucky or Tennessee. I always forget. And he's had some issues with CPS and his neighbors, and he gets himself into a lot of trouble. And that's the short version. That's the too long didn't. He is
I've definitely heard him brought
the
up
wizard
before.
Punisher from fucking Kentucky that people think is a time traveler, but is actually reincarnated. That's his general beliefs, I think.
That actually
He's
sounds kind of fun.
a pagan with gods that he doesn't name because the gods told him it wasn't allowed.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah. Oh,
He
I'll have to
owns
look
an
into that.
he owns a demonic artifact known as the Staff of Baal that his 8-year-old child gave to him in his yard. That he claims came from the gods themselves, and yeah, it's
all types in the States, yeah.
Which for the
But,
Bible Belt you wouldn't think, but yeah, these people, yeah, that's yep.
Oh, I would suspect it even more in the Bible Belt, to be honest. I've met some people that are actually batshit crazy, and he sounds like he could put up a.
He actually sounds a
New
lot
standard.
like he sounds a lot like the DMs in Dragons games that I've played before. Who, like, take their role playing very seriously.
Yeah, he believes in the flat Earth, but that's the least interesting thing about him, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, whatever. I mean, I don't really have I don't have a problem with people who believe in those sorts of things. That's
No,
what
I mean, I just think it's funny because he's a pagan, right? So he doesn't have there's no prescriptive.
There's no basis. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. So, like, I'm an Orthodox Jew, and I don't even really like the flat Earth. No, I don't believe in that. So.
Well, I've got to go here quick, boys, but I wanted to ask JC something before I leave. You there, JC?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I wanted to ask, does truth exist?
What's your definition of truth?
Not false.
Well, sure.
Sure. And that's absolutely true.
Oh, boy. Hey, look, it's Side 10 Bruggencate.
No, this is good. This is good. I mean, it's true that my name is Sir Dorgon is Fly, right? And your name is JC. That would be an absolute truth, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm just pointing out the truth.
Like, I'm just waiting for you to kind of get to your point. That's all. Like, what is?
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, I'm just saying that truth does exist. So, as an agnostic, either it is true that you can't know, or it's false that you can't know. And I would suggest that the evidence points otherwise. But I would literally encourage you as an agnostic to go down the rabbit trail.
Okay, so this is a fun one. So there's a difference between I can't know and anyone can't know. So I have a finite amount of time on this planet, for example, and I don't know when that runs up. It could be tomorrow. I could get in my car and drive home from work and hit a deer and fucking crash my car and die, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah, that's true.
I can, but barring that, I can assume I have a certain amount of years. I'm 27 years old, so I probably got, I don't know, like ballpark, like 43 more years, right? So you could look at how science has progressed so far and what it used to do and what we used to believe and make a judgment call based on that. And you say, I don't believe that I can know in my lifetime, for example, but that nobody will ever figure out whether or not God does or does not exist definitively is another thing. And then you also have to account for, well, how long before, like, let's say God doesn't exist and we just extinguish ourselves and we never figure it out. See what I'm saying? So that I think that's the issue with the agnostic thing that people overlook.
Yeah, well, and like I say, if an agnostic, atheist, whatever you are, if you're going to claim to be rational and a logical thinker, I would say move from effect to cause. So look at the effect around you and move to the cause. That's a great rabbit trail to go down. Because it's either true that God exists or it's not, right? Both possibilities are absolutely fucking terrifying. I'll be straight with you. Either God exists and I'll be morally accountable, and he's offered his son, Jesus Christ, to pay for my sin, or he hasn't. Or there is no God, and we're flying through space at 66,000 miles an hour, spinning on a piece of dust, and no one's in control. So both of the instances are absolutely terrifying.
Well, that's what I'm saying is you set up Pascal's wager, and then you've decided that we don't have a finite amount of time to figure it out. Well, you're not saying that explicitly, but it's implicit because it's a
finite, definitely.
You presuppose in a hypothetical sense that you have an infinite amount of time to explore all the different paths, because the way that the hypothetical is set up now is that there's only two wagers: God does exist, or God does not exist, or Christianity. When you have basically an infinite number of branching paths of basically the ceiling of which is only the human imagination, because
What do you mean by that?
People like Von Helton exist. That's what I mean.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Use the unseen laws of the universe, because they remain constant. They're not subjective.
Von Helton is locked into his own level of logic. I mean, if the entire internet can't convince him, and the people in his life can't convince him, and all these other factors, etc., it's fairly likely to say that he is locked into that belief structure for either the majority of his life or his entire life. So
well, it's a willful ignorance, absolutely, and it does exist.
Or a psychosis. That's the other option.
Yeah. 8 out of 10 Americans psychosis. Yeah, it's a scary number.
All right. So you've got Buddhism and Judaism. That's the thing, is that you only have a finite amount of time on this planet. Well, I know, but what I'm saying is you set up Pascal's wager, and then you said that there's only a finite amount of paths, when you don't know that, because that in and of itself is a presupposition. And then you say, okay, well, let's say there's 100 paths, for example. How much time do I have to explore each of the individual paths to seek truth? And which ones will be worth my time? How do I discern? And then a Christian would say, well, Jesus gives you the power of discernment.
No. I would say it's got to be logically consistent, empirically adequate, and experientially relevant. If your worldview doesn't fall into any of that, then you're defying your own logic.
Yeah, that in and of itself is a subjective statement too. I mean, again, I'm an Orthodox Jew, so I'm probably putting my own foot in my mouth, but
Yeah, I think we got more
you
than enough time before we die to make that choice, right? So if you look at the God of the Bible, for instance, it's appointed a man once to die and then the judgment. So if that is true, then you do have an amount of time that is finite to make your decision beforehand. So if there's incredible evidence for the God of the Bible, as opposed to all of the other religions, including Buddhism and karma and Krishna and Vishnu and the Vedas, like you got quite a few, but they have to logically.
I mean, like the Jews have got it narrowed down because, of course, and again, I don't want to twist your nips on this or anything, but we believe that Jesus is not the Son of God, not the Messiah, right? So, but we've put a fine point on exactly how long we have until the Messiah gets here, and it's 6,000 years, and we've kept track of how many years it's been on a calendar that we use. That's basically 30-day month intervals and stuff like that. So it's the Hebrew calendar. So we've got it figured out to we have it figured out to the day and the hour and the minute and the second and ad infinitum exactly how long we have until our Messiah gets here, according to our prophecy as it's kept orally and now written. So yeah, there's a finite amount of time for
Or
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
The Torah is, like, you guys don't follow the Torah, or
no, we do. It's the Pentateuch for you. So that's the first 5 books of the Bible. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, because I've heard a lot of apologetics argue that even Jesus himself is prophesied in the first 5 books of the Bible.
Yeah, I know. Well, they did the same thing with Harry Potter. It's like
not true.
So I mean, again, I'm not here to break balls about somebody else's religion or anything.
It's fun. This is good. It's, like I say, rational thought, logical deduction.
But
Anyway.
yeah, it's all
I
good.
do have to go, but this has been fun. This has been fun. Thank you guys, and thanks Brett for having me on, man. I'll definitely be back again in the near future. This has been good. I mean, I got a crazy work schedule and a baby, but we'll make it work.
I hope you take my suggestion and do those videos. And if you ever need any ideas of topics, me and Will, we're quite imaginative. I can give you all kinds of things to work with if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take you up on that for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't forget the OBS. It's free software you can record your videos with.
Yeah. I actually do have OBS for sure, and I have been recording a little bit on there. I think I'm gonna get Lightworks and start doing some editing as well. But like I say, time is limited, and
Yeah. I mean, I in my downtime I edit when I'm at work because I literally have no other time. I have to sleep. I occasionally eat, take a shower. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate it, Brett and Will, and I can't actually see who else is left. Is it Zan?
I think it's Anakin.
Is Anakin down
JC,
there?
the agnostic, he's still in. Anakin ended up taking off, but he said he'll come back next time.
No, absolutely. And JC, it was good meeting you too.
Yeah,
and
man.
You guys have a good night. Well, I hope to talk to you guys soon in the future.
Sure. But yeah.
Well, Will, I'm glad you're able to make it and all that. I know you work hard, working hard for the money. All right.
The more I make, the more they take, the sons of bitches.
So, JC, if you had a preference, if you were to wake up tomorrow morning, find yourself in an extremely dark room with just enough light to see two doors up against the wall, one that says universe with God or the door that says universe without God. Either one that you pick will become your reality and the door behind you will disappear. You'll never be able to choose again. Which would it be? Universe with God or no God? What's your preference?
If I'm being honest, man, I don't instinctively, I feel like saying that I would pick the door with a God, but I think it doesn't, because I don't live my life like that. It doesn't really bother me either way. Like, I legitimately feel 50-50, because if there's a world without a God, then I wouldn't be contemplating that one would exist, or I wouldn't be fearful that one would exist or one didn't exist. So it would be irrelevant. Or if I did pick the door with the world with the God, then it would be irrelevant, because I would know that it exists. So I think it's a coin toss either way. I don't desire either or. I instinctively feel that it would be nice to know that there's a greater purpose, obviously.
Do you feel like there is no greater purpose if you go into the universe without God?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think we're probably just a byproduct of whatever environment that we're in. And maybe there is a bigger purpose that we're just unaware of. Who knows? But I don't seek a higher purpose. I just kind of live my life. I live my best life in the moment, and I just try to do the best I can in life, I guess, and try to be the best person I can be.
Yeah, that's something that I've thought about frequently. Is I don't think that I need a higher purpose. Like look at what I do for a living. That's fulfilling enough as it is. I don't need to be a child of light. I just need to take care of people down here who can't take care of themselves. That's enough purpose for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, but why do you? Why, Will, do you think? I mean, obviously, you're a theist and believe in God. You're for Judaism, but there's something inside of you that gives you that. I mean, there's some people who throw their babies in garbage cans, and people who think the entire point of their existence is to sit in a dark alley and hit syringes up. But you want to help people. How can you explain that? Did you evolve to just want to help people? There's obviously got to be an element to it.
I don't know how to explain 100 million years of evolution in 15 minutes to get me to the point where I can explain why people evolved empathy. Now, I am a theist, so but I've squared the circle of God with, I've squared the circle of God and evolution existing in the same universe. I don't think that they're necessarily incompatible, but that's just me. I mean, you won't find a lot of theists that believe that, to be honest with you. But when you get right down to it, I think that it's just an accidental function of a gene mutation. The same gene mutation that allows us to walk upright also gives us larger diameter skulls and a part of the brain system that doesn't exist even in some primates, a smaller part of the prefrontal cortex. Because it's basically a, depending on who you ask, it's either a 3 or a 4 brain system function. So
yeah, but Will, let's look at you for a moment, because you and I, we've talked a million times and all that. Will, you've grown up being around people who don't want to help anyone, who just hit you and spit on you as you're growing up, and then you are introduced to a family that has no interest in going out and helping anybody. Hell, they don't even help you. But for some reason in your heart, you have this fire in you that you need to go out and work damn near 90% of your existence to help other people, which doesn't benefit you in any kind of way, maybe emotionally, but it tears you down physically, yet you keep doing it. I don't know. It just seems like there's a little bit more going on with you than a fucking copy error or mutation.
May I ask?
No. Yeah.
Well, sorry. What is it that you do? I'm not a. You say that you.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty open about it because my job is more or less secure unless I actually do something at work that fucks me up. So if somebody finds out, whatever. But yeah, I work for the New York State Department of Health, OPWDD. So that's
Okay.
Office of Persons with Developmental Disabilities. Is basically like a live-in home care facility, and they range sort of in people's ability, so that from higher functioning to zero functioning.
Gotcha. Okay.
And my particular subset of skills is towards the zero functioning. So for 6 individuals, I do everything. Good, yeah, feeding, toileting, which is basically changing diapers. To be honest with you, for a bunch of people. I've got one Holocaust survivor. I've got I've got a lot of different kinds of people that I take care of too. So yeah,
Nice.
that's what and that's anywhere from a 10-hour day to a 20-hour day.
See what I mean? There's a million different things you could have done, but that's the one you picked. That's the one thing you went for.
Well, I tried a million different things before I got here. Before I figured out this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
This is what's fulfilling.
Yeah.
What do you mean this is what you're supposed to be doing? That almost sounds like destiny, fate.
Well, yeah, that's the God component in my thing. Basically in Judaism, the greatest avera or sin, or highest sin, because there's levels of sin in Judaism, more or less. The highest sin you can commit is betraying your purpose. And you say, okay, well, how do you know you're not betraying your purpose now? You have to be going and looking for it. And when it feels right, that's when you know that's the thing you're supposed to be doing. So I spent a long time doing that. And then while I was in the process of exploring Judaism, I happened to find this, and I was like, oh, that all makes sense. So, I believe that this is what I'm supposed to be doing because this is my purpose. It's what I exist to do. But also I can see that there's a naturalistic component as to why as well. So, and I can, kind of play devil's advocate for somebody who doesn't believe in God at all and just take that component and extrapolate it to its logical ends. So it's not lost. The nuance isn't lost on me either way.
I hear you. What about you, JC? What do you feel like you're destined to do, or what do you feel like really moves you?
I think at this point in my life now is just finding peace. I think is what seems to be my goal, and that just may be inner peace or just peace with who I am and where I'm at in life at the moment.
You don't feel like you have peace right now?
I think that we find. Let me think about how I want to phrase this. I kind of feel as we develop and we mature, we go through many different steps or phases in life, and I think that what may have motivated me once upon a time might have been more monetary things. Like I was more worried about money, more worried about acquiring material things, and after trading my time in exchange for, currency to be able to buy these things, I realize that that's not what life should be about, or that's not what's making me happy or bringing me peace in life. So I've kind of separated my ways from that way of thinking, and I'm trying to take more of a simple approach to things, more of a minimalist approach to life, and just find happiness and peace in other areas.
What do you think would bring you peace and happiness?
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not peaceful or I'm unhappy. I'm just trying to find the most amount of peace and happiness. I guess at this point in time, I think is just maybe pursuing passion, something that I truly enjoy doing, and just.
Well, that's the scariest thing to do, because that's where all the risk is.
Right.
And the only way you can succeed at either finding or fulfilling your passion is basically put absolutely everything on the table and gamble it on, and just believe that if you have enough faith in yourself, you can do it, because there's no other way to do it. I've tried. I put a lot on the table for this particular field of work. Months without pay, a year's worth of tests and exams and everything, and every kind of background check you can imagine. I basically kind of put my family in for financial, what's the word for it? Risk, I guess. And it ended up panning out, because it turns out I had it in me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not willing to risk everything, you're not going to really have anything either. So that's just the way I see it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
No, I can relate. There's definitely a certain amount of fear that's involved with it. And you're absolutely right that if you do pursue passion, I mean, you need to be able to at least live, basically, like you need to support yourself in your basic human functions. And, that's not always necessarily an option, right?
Yeah, it might mean that you have to, live in your mom's basement for a couple of months while you get everything ready. And that's or as much as being, like homeless or sleeping at work and hoping nobody finds out that you're sleeping at work just to get back on your feet. There's a lot of risk involved with following passion, which I don't think people say a lot. Everyone says follow your truth and all this. It's like, okay, you tell people to do that, but then you don't tell them the risks that are involved and what you're actually going to have to do if you want to see it through. What's that, like that? It's not just, oh, I'm going to take pictures on my cell phone and I'm going to become a millionaire. It's like, no, you're going to have to put capital up that you don't have. You're going to have to take loans. You're going to have to work your ass off to make sure that you have the skills. You're going to have to market your skills. It's like there's so much more that's involved in following your passion. People are always like, yeah, just follow your passion. And I saw this funny ad from PragerU about like 3 or 4 months ago that's like, don't follow your passion, do something that makes money, and then see if maybe that becomes your passion. And if it doesn't, use it to fund your side project that is your passion, and see if you can use the capital to move ahead. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. JC, do you? I mean, it sounds like you're going in a direction, though, but it's obvious that he's found the very vehicle that his passion can drive. But do you know of what it is you're looking for that would give you that passion, or is it something you're still looking for, but you're not sure?
I mean, I'm kind of piecing it together. Like I'm not at a point where I'm going to share it at this moment, but I kind of have an idea, of what the bigger picture is, what I'd like to be doing. It's just a matter of connecting the dots between where I'm at now and where I want to be. That's kind of what I'm working towards, I guess.
It's a personal thing, huh?
I mean,
all right, fair enough. Fair enough. As long as you're not striving to be a porn star or some kind of crackhead,
No.
I encourage you to find that which can make you happy and bring you more peace and abundance in your life.
Yeah, I had a teacher once that pretty much set me up for life in just a handful of sentences. He was a music teacher, and I didn't give a fuck about music, to be honest with you. He said, if you're not good at high school, you better goddamn well be amazing at something else. Like basically he said, you know, if you're gonna be a crackhead, be the best crackhead you could be. Don't strive for mediocrity. It doesn't matter what you're gonna do with your life, but strive to be the best at it. And I think that set me, set me up.
Amy says, "What is your passion in life, Brett?" Well, it used to be writing books whenever I was a teenager, when I was growing up in foster care and all that. That's one of the things I used to do to immerse myself in. As far as other passions, I enjoy doing music. I especially enjoy connecting with my brother and writing an epic track or song. But my biggest passion of all is trying to be the best father I can to my 2 children, as well as best husband I can to my beautiful wife. And I think that love and passion together on that cannot be defeated. Absolutely invincible passion.
Amen.
Nice.
Oh, and being a good buddy to my buddies. Yes,
that's true. Yeah, not being a prick, and yeah,
trying to work on that. I'm a work in progress when it comes to that, for sure. Because sometimes I just wake up and I'm asshole of the month. I have my man period.
Yeah, definitely happens to me sometimes. And sometimes people mistake my just not having time for anything as not having time for that specific person, which is a problem. But I'm not trying to figure that out.
I hear you there. What about you, Mr. JC? What is your concept of love, and have you found it?
Oh, sir, just give me one quick second, Brett.
Sure. Well, if anyone wants to come in and chat with us, we got a few minutes to go. If anyone would like to chat with us, Mr. Will, when would be another good day to schedule one of these things for? Because I like giving people an opportunity to get ready. I got to be honest with you, though, Will. I'm extremely disappointed with like over 12 to 20 Christians. I talked to them all on Discord, said what type of room I was going to open. They all said they were excited. They were going to participate. Only a few of them actually showed up. Shall we set a fire and throw them all in it, or what? What do we do, Will?
I mean, I have to listen. It's like I was saying a minute ago. It's people just forget, or they just end up not having time. They don't set reminders and stuff. So I go out of my way to remind people. And I think that's pretty much why my rooms end up being on the bigger side. That, and apparently Thursday around 8:00 is like prime time on YouTube. People are looking for something to watch. It's like an unfulfilled market. But yeah, as far as when, fuck. I mean, I'm off the next couple of days. I'm not doing anything. I have to reschedule my. I think I finally decided, because John is gonna stream the stupid fucking debates. Like, if you haven't made up your mind at this point and you need to see a debate, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Then just don't vote. Then how about that? If you haven't decided, you ain't black or whatever. But so at any rate, I'm probably gonna have to move my show. I'll probably put up a quick video in a minute about it. I'm probably gonna have to move my show to Friday at 8:30, perhaps earlier. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But anytime you want to do one of these, I'm free pretty much whenever. The next couple of days, might take a nap tomorrow morning, but other than that.
So you want to try doing one tomorrow or the next day? What's got to make sure that I want to make sure that you're available. I enjoy having you in the room. Looks like our buddy JC took off. That's too bad.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I try to like figure out what the hell I'm doing during the day, but I have to figure it out as I go. That's the problem. Because it's always something stupid always fucking happens. You know what I mean? It's always some asshat is, oh, hey, I forgot to tell you, your mother-in-law is coming over. And it's like, oh, fucking kill me, please. I mean, my mother-in-law is a lovely woman, but dumber than a second coat of paint.
Hey, Will, do you mind if I go ahead and close this down? Because it's been like 3 hours, and then we
sure, that's fine. Yeah, that's good.
We can talk about this off air, about scheduling and getting things together. Let me go ahead and do this. Don't go, though. I'm going to be closing it down. Let me...
I got you.
Oh, folks, if you think the Democrats are rational and logical, check this out real quick before we end it.
I'm terrified. Listen to me, Republicans. Listen. You are the people in history they warned us about. They warned us about people like you. Pay attention. We're losing our democracy.